Why Watch That is a podcast featuring the critic
and referee who go head-to-head on a quest to discover the best movies
and TV shows Hollywood has to offer. Expect the unexpected from the critic.
Well, nothing gets past the ref.
We do all the work,
so you don't have to. Welcome to Why Watch That.
The Why Watch That TV Talk.
Well, hello. We are back with the TV Talk this week. Listen, I don't know where you are. Not you, critic. I know exactly where you are. I see exactly where you are. But it has been hot. Like, hot. Very hot summer. We are finally in August, which means the kiddos are gearing up for their last good run of summer.
Oh my goodness, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're gonna have to round them suckers up, go school shopping.
Too bad.
And start back on that schedule train. But until then, you as parents can enjoy some of these TV shows, because I don't think any of these are exactly appropriate for those under 14.
No.
Well, let's start with some new stuff. We have a new series. We're going to call it a mini-series, but who knows? It's on Hulu. Hulu sometimes like to do sneaky renewals. But it is 4 weddings and a funeral, and I can see it already. Some of you are like, well, hold on. Are we talking about that English movie? And then someone else says, well, hold on. Are we talking about the Chris Rock version? And I'm going to say, well, hold on. We're talking about the miniseries. 4 weddings and a funeral. Wait, hold on. Was Chris Rock in a version of that?
I don't know.
Well, I do know that there was an English version.
Yes, with Hugh Grant.
Yes.
Andy McDowell.
Yes. No, I think the other funeral movie was like something at a funeral or something like that. And it had Zoe Saldana in it and somebody else. So that's completely different. Anyway, this is the mini series we're talking about. It's only 4 episodes. It's available now. You can watch it right now on Hulu if you have a Hulu there. So it's just the first 4 episodes though. So don't think that you're gonna be able to watch all 10.
Right.
So you can watch just 4 episodes right now, and then later on, as you get into it, they'll release them. You got a chance to see the first 4. and did you hear the 4? Like, maybe you did? Did you stop? Did you watch?
We'll find out.
We're going to find out.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Mindy Kaling and her writing partner, Matt Warburton, their version of the movie. So it is based on the British film you were talking about of the same name by Richard Curtis. He does get an executive producing credit because he wrote the thing.
He better.
Yeah, but does this have anything to do with the movie?
Death at a Funeral, that's what it was called. Sorry. I was like, what was that? What was that movie? It had like an all-black cast and like Tracy Morgan was in it. And,
yeah, this is not Death at a Funeral.
Which was in it. Okay, sorry. Going on. Go.
No, only you will interrupt me and then tell me to go.
Sorry. I fully remember because he's the guy who dies, right? Anyway, go ahead. Yes. Carry on.
Okay. So is this anything like the movie? Well, I did watch the movie again before looking at this miniseries, so I'll come back to that.
You are so prepared.
So in this version, it's centered around Maya, played by Natalie Emmanuel, who was Missandei on Game of Thrones. Yes, it's her. And she is American. Okay, why is she playing an American? I don't know. She is there. And she is a speechwriter for a politician who is running to become a senator.
Oh.
Now, he does become a senator, but what's going on between Maya and the senator other than speech writing?
Okay.
And he is married.
Oh.
Now, she has 3 friends. They all went to college together, but the 3 of them decided to move to London after college. She did not, obviously. So when one of them decides to get married, and this is Ainsley, who's an interior designer, played by Rebecca Rittenhouse, she has to go to London for the wedding, and Ainsley's getting married to Cash, played by Nikesh Patel, and he's an investment banker. Okay, so we see her, of course, get off of the plane. She loses her luggage. This becomes a big problem, and she meets a guy at the airport. At first, they have a contentious kind of back and forth, but then she kind of starts liking the man. All right, what does that have to do with anything? Well, maybe we'll find out. So she eventually winds up and is at Ainsley's house, is getting ready for this wedding. And the other 2 friends are 2 guys. One is Duffy, who's an English teacher in London, and played by John Reynolds. And there's Craig, who's an investment banker who works with Cash, and he's played by Brandon Michael Smith. Now, Duffy, just so you know, is secretly in love with Maya. Okay. Craig and Maya really are really great friends, really close, and he's dating someone, and this someone thinks that Craig and Maya actually love each other. Is that true or not? Well, we know the truth of that. Okay. And Ainsley, she now has a new best friend, according to this new best friend they are. And her name is Gemma. She is British. She's wealthy. And she's played by Zoe Boyle. And she has troubles of her own. Her husband, though, who's a wealthy man, is really protective of her. So keep that in mind. Okay. So we see these 4 friends and the offshoots. We also get to meet Cash's father and brother. And I won't give away where that goes. So the question is this. How many weddings? Is it going to be 4? And what's the funeral? So we know there are 4 weddings and somebody dies.
Uh-oh.
Who dies? Who gets married? And if you know the movie, maybe one of the weddings doesn't actually come to fruition. Okay. Now, the movie. You know what? The movie is really enjoyable to me. I enjoyed watching it again. Yes. Is it a perfect movie? No, it doesn't even need to be. Because it's charming, and you look at these characters and go, these are characters. Everybody's having fun. And with Hugh Grant and Andie MacDowell, there is a chemistry there. Like when they first meet, it's not like you go, oh my goodness, it's obvious they would love each other. But there's something to the way they set it up and the chemistry that makes it all work. And it's funny. And you have all of that. And if you like a rom-com, it's going to work. And this, I mean, the movie, if you haven't seen it in a while, is almost 2 hours long.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's not a short rom-com, but because of the chemistry, the energy, all of that, the likability of the characters, it's just a nice movie to watch and just let it go.
Okay.
So is that what we get from this TV series?
No.
No, we do not. I don't like these people. I don't care about them. And there is no chemistry. And that's the problem, really. How are you going to do a rom-com and there be no chemistry? It makes no sense. So the people, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said, they got the critics saying, how you?
That's right.
How you gonna do?
I'm going to break the English. See that? But I need to. So the main love affair here, I didn't give away. It's not like the moment where they meet and, it's like, oh, time stops or lightning flashes. It's the way they set it up is actually against that. And I know what they're trying to do is update it. Let me tell y'all something. You can't update this. It is a rom-com. I've almost had it. You can't do it. And what you've done is actually made it worse. because the original film, it is not PC. It is not. These are characters. You can't do it in a way that makes it more like now. Do something else. Why are you doing 4 weddings and a funeral? It doesn't work. And again, there is no chemistry. But I will say this. I think I did watch all 4, Ref. Will I be watching more? No. But I will say in episode 3 is when it really starts to become itself. So you'll know then if you keep watching whether you want to continue based on episode 3. And I will say its strongest moments actually are when they're working. When they're at the workplace, there's something there. And it's interesting because remember, Mindy Kaling comes to us from The Office. That was her big break. And there's something about the dynamics at work that I think if they focus there, they might have something, But as is, it's a mixed bag. And some of the writing.
All right. Mid-season check-in. Both of us are caught up on one of our favorite shows to watch in the summer, and that is Younger. Now, we are at this point, season 6. Liza's been fooling folks, and actually the only person who is out of the loop is Diane. And at this point, I mean, even her daughter knows, but at this point, they have to be building up to this reveal because Diane was super crushed when she found out that Charles and Liza got back together. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine if she found out that they were the same age or around the same age. Yeah. So let's check in to see where we are. This has already been renewed for season 7. I mean, we haven't even really gotten clean off the ground in season 6. Well, yeah, in their terms, I guess they do because they only do 13 or they're very small seasons. Mm-hmm. But they're already renewing it for season 7. And we see in this mid-season check-in, Liza and Charles, who we've been wanting to get together for how long? They're having problems. They're having real relationship problems. And if they were just on an island somewhere, they'd be fine. But at one point, they're contenders.
Yeah.
It's awkward. It gets a little awkward.
And based on the upcoming scenes they showed after this last episode, I think that Diana is going to find out. Now,
I am not prepared for that.
She ain't either, according to those scenes. Okay, and you get Miriam Shore going. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Now, in this season, as the ref is hinting at, okay, so we've got Liza and we've got Charles. Like the ref said, they're together, but Charles essentially divested himself from his family's publishing firm.
I mean, he owns it still, but he's just not on the board.
Right, he's not on. Exactly, he's going to get his money, but that's about it. He's not working there. He's not on the board, as the ref said, and so on and so forth. And he gave the keys to the kingdom, to Kelsey.
Oy.
Was that a good choice? I don't know.
Hair's falling out. That's all I got to say. Somebody's balding.
Right. But publishing is in the blood. Okay? The maestro would say it's in the blood. So he really says, okay, y'all keep doing that. I'm going to start my own thing on the side and have my hands in both buckets.
And he admits it, doesn't he? He was like,
oh,
win.
This man is not hiding anything.
No.
He's very honest. He's like, yeah, what?
I love that scene.
He's like, and? You think you're going to tell me what to do? That's my firm, and this is my firm. And you work it out. And to add...
He loves Liza, but he loves Liza.
He definitely does. But to add insult to injury, he hires Zayn, which of course creates even more problems for Kelsey. And Zayn's always got that, Cheshire grin. And somebody might knock off one day. So we have that. But then, of course, I actually watched this with my brother, Ref.
Oh.
And he was like, this is not going to last. Absolutely not.
No, because they're stealing you know what happened.
Yeah. So it was a nice diversion for them to go through fighting for the same authors. And Kelsey doesn't know who is really behind this. Of course, this all comes to light. And of course, they all come back together to work together again. But who's in what position?
Oh.
And what kind of trouble does that spark? That's the question. And then we see how moving forward, things might be challenging, especially for Kelsey and of course for Liza. But then I do have to say this, Ref, and then of course you'll tell us what you think. This whole storyline with Josh and the baby.
Can we be done with it?
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I like that he's a father, but he has nothing to do. And Josh was and they hinted toward it this last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Josh was really a moment.
Yeah.
In Liza's life. It helped her get through that divorce.
And maybe a continuing moment.
Well, I think
this is what happens. You start doing psychedelics and it opens you up to certain ideas that maybe you weren't thinking. And we'll see where that goes. But yeah, the whole thing with him and the baby mama, it's tangential. That's the problem. How does this affect Liza? Why am I watching this? I don't care. The only thing I did like how they used the baby in the social media thing.
Yeah, that was funny. That
was interesting, but that's about it. And I hope they've gotten that out of their system. But other than that, I am definitely still enjoying Younger. I look forward to when Diana finally finds out. And the Diana Enzo thing, see, that is a tangential story I actually like.
I love it. It's great. He proposed.
Mm-hmm.
She said yes, but we'll see how that actually works out.
With the mama.
She did ask a question. She was like, is there a ring? Diane's gonna ask the right questions, and he's like, baby, I'm trying to be spontaneous. And she was like, okay, all right, we just know that. I agree with you, critic. I think Younger. This season isn't my favorite season. I'm going to be honest with you. I think we're losing some of, we always love Maggie's weird adventures, and she does have some weird adventures with some very familiar faces this season. But I also really love Lauren. I love her. I love that her, Liza, and as well as Kelsey get into what Sex and the City did, is kind of see what's hip in New York right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we are losing some of those storylines, probably just to keep Josh afloat.
That's the problem. Yeah, that is the albatross.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. We have to.
And Nicole Ari Parker, give her more.
Yes, and she may be. I think Maggie actually likes her, and she helped her get over some fears. But I will say this: Younger is, as Sex and the City was, you are always going to be enlightened as to what is happening in the world of the New Yorker. You just, the microdosing to, all sorts of other things, to the, like I said, getting sponsorship on your Instagram page. They're all going to try and be relevant. What I hope from them for the rest of this season is that we do get back to Liza. Not trying to pacify Charles all the time, but also decide, what do you want, Liza? What do you want? And does Josh have anything to do with it? So moving on
Wow.
to another check-in with a Y, Yellowstone on Paramount Network. We are in season 2. There's about 10 episodes, and you've already seen 6 of those episodes. And guess what? There's more to come, because as I said in another podcast, Josh Holloway is going to be joining the cast for season 3. And that's Sawyer from Lost, or I can't remember his name on Colony, but you've definitely seen him. But right now we're in season 2. We're a little over halfway there. Has it gotten better? Because the creator and showrunner is no longer directing, writing, show running, co-writing, but he at least knows better than to direct.
Yeah, they do every single thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's where we are. The Dutton family, led by Kevin Costner, of course, is going through this struggle to maintain their land, which is, yes, a part of Yellowstone National Park, that area. It's a vast, just ranch, just huge land. Okay, so they're trying to hold on to that in the face of threats. Threats from Native Americans, threats from other greedy businessmen, and now in this season, threats from two brothers who want in on the game. And these two brothers might be a problem for everybody. Okay? So that's what's happening there. They showed up, and this is starting to get the ball rolling a little more. We also, of course, have this just inter-family struggle that keeps going. Of course, we have the three siblings who are here, two brothers and a sister. One of the brothers, played by Wes Bentley, Jamie, versus the sister, Beth, played by Kelly Riley. That's still going on because, boy, oh boy, Jamie left the ranch, literally and figuratively, because, hey, what's going on is this. He was told by John that you are not going to be running for this office to be a politician like you thought you were. Jamie said, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to do it on my own. Problem. Now, he did that, and while he was away, he did get a lot of playing going. And this playing has now come to the fore as a big problem for the family because he said some things to a reporter that he shouldn't have. So what's going to happen with that? Also, we know the younger son, Casey, he's still trying to get back together with his wife. He still is caring for his son when he can. And he's now trying to become more of the person who's going to take over for John when he's finally gone. How's that happening? And then outside of the family, we do have the ranch hands themselves, which could be its own show. I mean, these guys, it's crazy. Really led by Cole Hauser's character, Rip. That guy has been on the ranch since he was a kid. He knows it in and out. He has this relationship with Beth. And what happened is John said, well, you know, Rip, I'm giving the reins over to my son, Casey. You've got to help him out. How's that coming to fruition? Also, there are some other ranch hands that have all kinds of problems. Okay. So here's the thing.
You tell.
The inter-family stuff, they should get rid of it. It doesn't work. In particular, Beth versus Jamie, it is forced. The writing is bad, and the acting is bad. And we are talking about Kelly Riley and Wes Bentley here.
Yeah, well, we're also talking about the writer, who is done
yes.
some great work.
But here's what's interesting. I'm glad you said that, Ref. If we're thinking about Taylor Sheridan, is he the guy to write inter-family conflict? Is he Shakespeare? Is he Steinbeck? This is not East of Eden. You know, it's not King Lear. We're not going there with this. He's not that. He is about the ranch. He is about the conflict. He's about this family against the world.
Yeah.
If the show was that and what's going on the ranch with those ranch hands, it would be really good because then you get more of the Western. That's what Taylor should be doing. Make this a full-on Western, which it really is anyway, but get rid of this family stuff. It is not good, and it's holding the show back. I do want more of these brothers who've come in this season. I want more of how is the Dutton family going to hold on to this land. And I enjoy it the most when it's not about the family at all, when it's about the ranch hands. So we'll see whether this balance is fixed at the end of this season. I don't know if it's not how much longer I'm going to keep watching. Maybe I'll make it to Josh Holloway because I like him. I don't know, though, Ref. So that's where we are right now.
Well, it is the #1 show on cable. So a lot of people, in the summer, not ever. A lot of people are tuning in. The question is, will they continue to do so? Let's end this with another why. Years and Years, which had its season finale. Now, and we're also going to say its series finale because it is a limited run for that show. It's on HBO, which means if you have HBO Go, you can go watch the whole thing right now. after the season finale. I didn't quite get a grasp on how you truly felt about the show. I knew it was something that you were going to finish, but from the beginning to now, how did we fare out? And is this something you'd recommend?
So essentially the story is there's this family, the Lions, and
Cookie Lion?
not them. But this is a different Lions family. We are in Great Britain. We're in England here. And we see over the course of years and years how things change for them politically and technologically. So that's what's happening here. That's really the main thrust. And this Lions family, at the core of this, are 4 siblings. So it's 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and they each have their own personalities and their own goings on. So one of the brothers, Daniel, is a housing officer. He ends up being embroiled in this whole refugee crisis that they have in Manchester. And he actually meets the love of his life.
Oh.
Now, the love of his life is in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Okay, he's a refugee from one of those, I forgot exactly where, but somewhere in the Russia territory.
Oh, yes.
And he's a gay man. So it's a problem.
Yeah, yes.
So he really needs asylum to be protected. Does he get it? And if he gets it, does it last? And what in the world can Daniel do to help him out, if anything? That's one of the plots. Now, another one, the oldest of them, Edith, she's a political activist, and she never comes home. But something major happens, and I mentioned this in my first review. Something major happens because of China and the US that causes her butt to come home.
Oh, boy.
Because maybe her time is limited on Earth.
Whoa.
But it continues to be an activist, and she wants to get down to the bottom of what's going on with these refugees. Because over the course of the series, things change as a result of Emma Thompson's character.
Boy.
Who's Vivian Rook. She becomes a major politician, over the series. It's ridiculous. So is she a Trump-like figure? Yeah, something like that.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Something like that. Not exactly. And what she does to these refugees becomes unearthed by the end. And it is as a result of Edith and others. So that's one thing. Now, the younger sister, hey, she's got 2 kids to deal with. She does meet a new guy that she loves. But what we see through her is this is a working class woman, but she's working. And she eventually actually comes up with a food truck, which is fun. But as Vivian Rook's hooks get into the system, things become harder and harder for her to work. But she voted for Vivian Rook. So do I have sympathy? No.
Uh-oh.
Now, the older brother here, played by Rory Kinnear, Stephen Lyons, he's a financial advisor. He ends up losing all of his money as a result of something that goes on politically. And he has a wife, he has 2 daughters, and boy, oh boy, he and his wife, their relationship changes. Now, this man, Stephen, makes a lot of mistakes, a whole bunch. It's not just losing money. He's a financial advisor who lost all his money. You think, should he have seen some of this stuff coming? He does some things that actually gets in the way of Daniel's relationship with the guy that he loves, but I won't tell you how. There's something devastating that happens. Maybe it's episode 4 out of 6, I can't remember. Something devastating that happens that really changes everything. And I thought that moment, again, not giving it away, was one of the best of this series. It grounded the show for once, because otherwise it was kind of floating. Now, as I mentioned, it is political. I went through a lot of that, but it's also technological, because for Steven's older daughter, she feels like, hey, I don't belong actually in skin, in a body. I need to be technology. I need to be hooked up to that. And there's a group of humans that want to do this. Now, over the course of this series, we see that technology gets better and better. So they're actually able to have technological implants. She literally becomes her own phone in the series. She can just raise her hand up to her face and answer the phone for fun. And that progresses even further, where she can search the internet in her mind.
Oh my gosh.
So those things, it was interesting to see how they went there, Ref. I think they did that in a way that was smart. Russell T. Davies, who created and wrote this, did a good job of it. It's just that if you're going to watch this, it's not as weighty as it sounds. It kind of glides through. And I think that's a blessing and a curse here. So while it's not great because of that, I do think it's interesting enough, if you liked what I said, to check it out. It's only 6 episodes. You'll be fine with it. Will you love it? No. But is it bad? Absolutely not. I think they came and got the job done ultimately.
Wow, so there you have it. Very different shows, very different offerings we have for you this week. Again, if you want to catch any of these shows, you can certainly go to the respective places. I'm sure they'll be around. But again, like I said, when I started, the kids are gearing up to go back. You're gearing up to go back to soccer practices and cheerleading pickups. You might as well enjoy it now while you can.
The Why Watch That Movie Talk.
Oh, we have a sneak peek for you. We have a sneak peek for you. The critic got a chance to see the new movie Brian Banks. And it is coming out August 9th, this Friday as of taping. It has a cast that you're familiar with, but first, it's written by Tom Shadyac. I don't know. Shadyac. And it's directed by him, and it's written by Doug Atchison. Tom and Doug did it. And the cast, though. We've got Greg Kinnear coming in, Sherry Shepherd. What's that guy's name? Dorian Misek.
Yes.
He was in a lot of stuff, but it's the titular character, as you like to say. Yeah. Is Mr. Hodge himself.
Yes.
Oh dear, that is a tall drink of water, as my mom sometimes says. Oh, that man is a tall drink of water. But we're focusing on his acting ability. Please get into this. It's crashing and burning. Go.
Also, for all of you This Is Us fans, Melanie Liebert is there. Now, who is that?
Yeah, who is that?
She's somebody's cousin in This Is Us.
Oh, yes. She does not take well to one of the, and then it happens. Oh my gosh, Thursday's in it.
Yes, she is. Thursday Farrar.
Shout out to Thursday girl.
Playing a lawyer.
That's right.
Got a suit on. She's like, look, you might want to take this deal. Anyway, let's set this up.
Oh, I'm so proud of her. We know her, so.
Yes. Shout out to Thursday. Now, Brian Banks is set in Long Beach, California. And it starts by focusing, yes, on Brian himself, who's played, as the ref said, by Aldous Hodge. Brian's watching a group of kids play football. But what's the significance of that? Well, to find that out, we're taken back in time, and we discover that Brian was convicted of raping one of his high school classmates when he was 16 and she was 15.
Whoa.
And now, after spending several years in prison, he's on parole, but he maintains his innocence. And he hopes that one day he'll finally achieve his dream of playing in the NFL. However, at the moment, he's struggling to find work, of course, as his mom played by Sherry Shepherd, supports him.
Wait, Sherry Shepherd's playing it? Okay.
She sure is.
Okay.
But along the way, he meets a personal trainer named Karina, played by, yes, Melanie Liburd, with whom he has chemistry. Okay, the sparks are flying. But just how will she react when he tells her about his wrongful conviction? Because despite that nasty stain on his reputation in life, he's still a stand-up guy. But will that be enough? Plus, what does she have to reveal about herself?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, this is not light stuff.
Okay.
Even still, the heart of this all too real story comes down to whether Brian can convince Justin Brooks, played by Greg Kinnear, to represent him. You see, Justin's a lawyer who's dedicated to his practice to overturning wrongful convictions via his California Innocence Project. So Brian hopes that Justin will petition the court on his behalf, but getting a conviction overturned, especially one that resulted from what was supposed to be a plea deal, is extremely difficult to do. And despite what you might think, California is a particularly tough state when it comes to this kind of thing. Even still, Brian refuses to give up and is adamant about reclaiming his life in a way that his mentor, played by Morgan Freeman, would approve of. Yes.
Morgan Freeman.
And I think he's uncredited, so you know.
Oh, yes, I didn't see him anywhere.
So, how will this true story end?
Yes, how will it end?
And what about Brian's accuser?
What about Brian?
What's going on with her? And with that, here's what I must emphasize about Brian Banks.
Oh my gosh.
The reason to see it is if its story grabs you in some way. It's the story that counts here, and it will be interesting to see how that story is received in this particular societal moment. However, outside of that, the only other positive I can come up with is that some of the actors really tried to do their best. Aldous Hodge gives a committed performance. Greg Kinnear brings tons of personality to his role, which is no surprise. Sherry Shepherd sheds her comedic sensibilities. Melanie Liburd proves that she's a reliable actor. And Morgan Freeman's Morgan Freeman.
I can't believe Morgan Freeman did this.
Now, it might be, think, of course, the story. Morgan Freeman in this movie is making a statement. Okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the writing...
Oh, yes. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. But the writing has not even a hint of nuance or specificity. I mean, just why did Doug Atchison have to write this? I couldn't detect his unique point of view on this important story at any time. Plus, some of Tom Shadyack's directing choices didn't do anything to overcome that. I mean, he might want to stick to comedies. So the actors were on an island here, and not all of them knew what to do without more guidance, which is a shame. It's a shame that Brian's story is being presented like a shallow and facile TV movie, but I guess that's better than nothing if the result is that more people will be aware of Brian's harrowing journey.
Wow, there you have it. Brian Banks opens up August 9th, and you can sneak around. You can probably fish around and find it near you. It may not be in every single theater, but I bet you if you dig around, you might can find it. Or you can decide to wait till it comes to your television. Either way, it's up to you. We have a sneak peek for you. Comes out August 9th. It is the movie called The Peanut Butter Falcon. I don't know. What?
Yeah, I love the title.
What kind of title is that? It has, it's directed and written by Tyler Nielsen and Michael Schwartz. That was from
Schwartz, we went yo.
Yes, Spaceball. Thank you. Oh, look at that. See, we've been around each other too long. Schwartz. Spaceballs, everybody. This is not a Mel Brooks production at all. But it does have Shia LaBeouf, so pretty close in strangeness. Dakota Johnson is also in it. along with John Hawkes, who I find myself looking at the credits going, oh my gosh, that was John Hawkes?
Yeah.
Thomas Hayden Church, Bruce Dern, John Bernthal, along with a ton of other people who will pop in and out. Now, I don't know much about this. I know you got a chance to see it. Please tell us what's going on here.
Yes. And can I just say, John Hawkes, everybody, if you haven't seen Winter's Bone.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, this is what, put Jennifer Lawrence on the map. But look at John Hawkes when he says, have you gotten that taste yet? Anyway.
Oy.
So for the Peanut Butter Falcon, what we have is this. We have a young man with Down syndrome. His name is Zach, played by Zach Gottsagen.
Mm-hmm.
And he is in an old folks home?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he in an old folks home?
Right.
His roommate's played by Bruce Dern. Why is he there? Well, it's because he doesn't have a family to take care of him. And the state has decided that this is the best place for him, for them to look over him. And the main person who cares for him is played by Dakota Johnson. Her name is Eleanor. And, she's a very sweet person. Zach's this great, wonderful ball of energy. So you have that. But Zach, without it being surprising, does not want to be in this old folks home. He is inspired to be a wrestler.
No.
Yeah, think WWE.
No.
He wants to do that. And his favorite wrestler, the name is the Saltwater Redneck.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay.
And he's played by Thomas Hayden Church. So Zach has video cassettes of Thomas Hayden Church as the Saltwater Redneck. He watches it over and over and over again. And he wants to escape the home to go to Saltwater's wrestling school, which is in Florida.
Oh.
Okay, so I believe they're like in the Virginia area, something like that. I don't know for sure. But he has to go down the coast. Okay. All right. How is he going to get there? How can he escape the nursing home? Well, he does try to bribe one of his, one of his fellow people there in the home to cause a distraction so he can get away. Does this succeed? And if not, what are the repercussions, right? So let's put a pin in that and move to another storyline, which is headed by, you guessed it, Shia LaBeouf's character, Tyler. Tyler is a crabber. So, he's in the water trying to get crabs. That's what he does for a living. But he also does some things that are illegal and gets him into hot water and causes problems for his employer. So he gets the axe. Okay, it's just like in Kill Bill, when the guys they're going, there's your name. There was your name. Okay? So he's out of there. Now, what he also does, he does something else that causes problems for a not so savory person. And that not so savory person is played by, who could play this person?
Oh, you already said it.
John Hawkes. So John Hawkes is after, and John Hawkes' character is Duncan. Duncan is after Tyler, Shia LaBeouf. So Tyler wants to run away to Florida. Okay. Now, in him running away, Tyler running away, and Zach wanting to get away from the home, how do they meet? I won't give that away, but they do meet, and they do eventually end up traveling together. Because on the way to where Tyler's going is the wrestling school for Zach. But remember, Eleanor's there. She's caring for Zach. She's very concerned if he gets out, right? He needs to be taken care of, right? Well, the relationship Zach has with Eleanor is completely different from the one he develops with Tyler. So Tyler sees him as someone who is more capable than other people have seen him. And by the end of the movie, the question is, how do all of these people meet? How do they intersect? And will they be safe in the end? Because remember, John Hawkes is out there, Duncan's out there, and he wants retribution.
Yikes.
Now, the Peanut Butter Falcon, the title, is actually, I won't even give that away.
Okay.
Because it's great when you figure out what it means. It's really a fun moment. And I think this runtime is an hour, 38 minutes.
Ooh.
For an hour, the first hour, I was really entertained. Was this anything new? No, but I enjoyed Zach playing Zach. His personality was just great. It's hilarious. People were laughing. It's just, you really will grow to enjoy him. It's not even that he's this cuddly, lovable dude. He's a real person who has a personality. And it was just fun to see that. It was fun to see him interact with Dakota and Shia. Of course, Shia's going to give you the rapid talk. That's his thing. He's adding things into the script. I'm like, Shia, that is not in the script. But his dance with Zach, his dance with Eleanor Dakota Johnson, it's fun watching actually Dakota react to him, because you could tell she's like, I don't know what's coming out of his mouth, but I'm going to go with it. So all of that was fun. You have John Bernthal. Now, this is where we have to go. Okay. So an hour of it I was enjoying. You think of all of these buddy road movies, these duo movies. You think even Huck Finn. You think you're going back to maybe even Midnight Run. Rain Man comes in. Like all of these movies that we've seen before, you're thinking of. I was even thinking, Ref, but you would lighten it a bit. I was thinking of what Billy Bob Thornton did with Sling Blade. I was thinking about what they did, he and Robert Duvall did with The Apostle. Not as dark as that,
right?
But the feel of it, that kind of, that version of the South is kind of what we get here. And it's always comfortable for me to see that kind of a movie. So again, the first hour I enjoyed, but then at the end, it did lose its way. It didn't quite figure out all of its plot points, how they could connect, and tonally what it wanted to be in the end. Because John Bernthal plays Mark, who is Tyler, Shia LaBeouf's brother, and a tragedy happened. But why did you cast John Bernthal? I wasn't clear. Right. Like, he's in these flashbacks, but you don't even hear him talk that much. It was strange. So I didn't know how that connected. Also, at the end, they threw in more of Eleanor's backstory, and it wasn't explored enough. We get to see the saltwater redneck played by Thomas Hayden Church, and that was thrown in. And then the whole wrestling part at the end, I just don't know tonally as well. Is it serious? Is it comedy? I wasn't quite sure in the end. The first hour was clear to me and consistent. The final half hour or so wasn't quite so much. So what does that mean for you, listeners? Should you see this or not? I think that this is great as a rental.
Oh.
It's great as a rental or at home some way. I would watch it that way, because you are going to be charmed by it in a way you're not expecting early on. And I think in the end, you'll probably be like, it didn't quite add up, but I was fine with it. I mean, there is this hilarious moment at the end that they step on. So it's just strange tonally. I don't think they quite nailed that, but I think this has enough for you to watch it if you're interested, again, from the comfort of your own home. But hey, as the ref loves to say, it's hot outside. You know, August 9th is when this releases. So if you just want a break from a lot of different things, this will certainly be that. And then you'll know sooner rather than later what in the world the peanut butter Falcon is.
Well, you've wet our whistle with that. Again, as the critic said, it's out August 9th. You can catch it in the theaters. Or as he recommends, maybe you don't want to even leave your house to go to the theater because it's so hot.
The Why Watch That TV Talk.
Hello, everyone. We have a twofer. I always like saying that. We have a twofer this week. What does that mean? Basically, we usually split up our TV talks and our movie talks. But listeners, because it's summer and you're shopping all that last minute school shopping and running around everywhere, we thought we'd cut you some slack and do our movie and TV talk together. Ew.
Oh.
Yes. So here's the deal. We're going to start with some series premieres. We're going to go to a season premiere. We're going to go to season finale, and then we're going to do a sneak peek. So let's get started with the TV first.
Smoke
is, as they say in Jeopardy, potpourri.
Yes.
Favorite category. Let's start with the series premieres. Ooh, Remember, these are premieres. These are shows that we have not talked about before because they just started. And let's start with Bulletproof. That's on the CW. And it's in its first season. I don't get around to the CW as much, to be honest with you, Critic. Mm-hmm. You are very diligent about checking out what's new there. So tell us about this Bulletproof.
And it's so interesting you say that because I've been wondering to myself, have I outgrown this network?
That's a legit question, actually.
Yeah. I'm still checking them out. But we'll see. Maybe one day you'll just notice that the CW has disappeared from why watch that.
No.
But Bulletproof is a little different, Ref. It's a British show, actually. So it was first broadcast on Sky in Great Britain, and now we have it here for 6 episodes of the first season. So they've already seen it.
Yeah, that's very interesting that the Brits are on the CW.
Yes, especially this kind. We have had some international productions show up on the CW during the summer. This is a little different because it's a police procedural. It's a detective show.
Oh.
Yeah. So what's happening is there are 2 friends, Aaron and Ronnie, played by Noel Clarke and Ashley Walters, and they are now undercover cops. They're undercover detectives. Ooh. And like you would expect, a lot of siblings, that's how they relate. There's a lot of arguments, okay, a lot of ribbing and things like that. So in the first episode, we see that they have a CI, a criminal informant, and she's in danger. Okay, mortal danger. They need to help her out. Okay. And you can see what comes of that. So you do have kind of a procedural aspect to it, but you also understand not only their relationship, but also their families. So we have Aaron, who, look, for Aaron, he didn't have the same kind of upbringing as Ronnie. So for Aaron, he grew up on the streets. He was in foster homes, all of that. Ronnie has a father who is now the Director General of the National Crime Agency.
Oy.
Okay. In the first episode, he gets a medal. I mean, so they come from different worlds that way. But again, they are friends. And for Ronnie's father, it's played by somebody we all know, okay? And I won't give that away. You'll see it if you watch the show. So you have that dynamic. And Ronnie has a wife. He has a kid. Aaron has a wife too. But the question is, what's going on with her? Because Aaron suspects that she might be cheating on him with one of his colleagues.
Oh, dear.
Is that true? And either way, what are the implications? Because if there's a misunderstanding, that can lead to trouble as well. So we see that start to simmer in this first episode, along with the procedural stuff, which I'm not really going to get into. Okay. So the whole point of this show is to make this kind of detective show skew a little younger. I don't know if it skews all the way to CW, though, which is very interesting, Ref. For me, watching the first episode, I thought it was fine. Like, it was professional. They had all of their beats in the right place, but it was very familiar, regardless of what's going on between Aaron and Ronnie, their friends, and all of that kind of bickering. It's not a comedy, so it's not like if you're thinking, what's that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence movie?
Bad Boys?
Yeah, it's not that kind of thing.
Okay.
It's almost if you take that and make it a drama.
Really? On the CW? I wonder if this is something new that they're going to be exploring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. And I'll say this. I will watch the next episode. Not typical so far for me when it comes to new CW shows. Again, it's not something great or even something where you go, it's very good. But it's professional. And I don't mind seeing British crime dramas.
Oh, nice. And there's only a handful of episodes, so it's not a huge commitment if you listeners want to join the critic.
Yeah.
Moving on to, let's stay with the CW. 2-sentence horror stories. Okay. Anthology. This was a 2-episode premiere that you got to see. I think there are about 8 in total episodes, not 2 hours. So that would be a lot happening. Now, this sounds more like CW to me. I'm not sure if it truly is.
Yeah, it's closer to what you would expect. And this show started on CW Seed, which is their online platform where they start new shows. So this has come to us now on regular CW. And the whole thing about the title is every episode starts with a sentence and ends with the second sentence. So you'll see as you go through the episode how we go from sentence 1 to sentence 2. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the fun of it. If you try to go, okay, I wonder what the second sentence is going to be as you're watching the episode. And each episode is a half an hour. So this isn't long, and I think that's a good thing. Now, as you said, the first 2 were released together. The next time they air, they will release the next 2, and then it will be 1 per week. So in our first 2 episodes, I mean, it's a horror kind of thing. I don't want to give it away, obviously. But I will say it this way. In each episode, there is a female in danger at the hands of a man.
Oh.
So what do in regard to that? They flip it. Okay? Because maybe the man's really in danger at the end of it. Now, that I liked, but it was predictable. Because I was going, Ref, I know the world I'm living in. I know the environment. I know they're not going to do this normal horror thing with women. I know it.
Yeah.
I know they're going to flip it. I know it. And they did it twice. And that's when I went, I hope they have more ideas than this. Now, in the first episode, there is a woman. She's had a baby. And she starts dating again because her ex-husband is no longer in the picture. So she dates this man who seems to have no interest in her until she mentions that she has a child. What's up with that? And that's all I'll give you for that one.
Oh.
In the second episode...
That's not much credit.
No, there's not. But just imagine, why would he all of a sudden perk up, a bachelor perk up when a woman says that she has a child?
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Even she goes, normally that's a deal breaker. Okay, so where does that go? Why does he have an interest? And what's going on with her? Now, for the second episode, there's a young woman at work, and she's at this party, and they're drinking. It's a work party. They're drinking. She wakes up to a disturbing message that has been written on her stomach.
Oy.
Who wrote the message? Was it somebody at the party? Was it someone else? Is it all in her head? You'll find that out if you watch it. So those are the kinds of things. Again, these are little nuggets of horror stories. Are they scary? No.
Are they psychological?
Yeah. Oh. Absolutely, they are psychological. Because always the question is, are these people in the right mental state? That kind of thing. Does it work really well that way? I would say it's fine. I didn't dislike this. Did it grab me though? It did not. Is this Rosemary's Baby? No, it's not. Okay? And again, the question's going to be, are they going to have enough ideas from episode to episode? Now, as you said, there are only 8 of these, so it's not going to be a lot. And I think at this time, they need to fill in the slot. This was a smart choice for CW to pull in because it's fine, which is not always a bad thing. So if you like horror stories that are really short, that get to the point, and you want to try to figure out what the 2 sentences are, I would say check it out. It's not going to be that you go, oh, that was bad. But I wish they had a little more ideas to it and a little more fire.
Well, you're going to have to find out those next couple episodes if they bring that kind of fire or not. Woo Assassins on Netflix.
Fire. Mm-hmm.
This is on Netflix. Of course, Netflix from here till goodness knows when they'll be putting out 70. Yes, you count them, 70 TV shows per day. Okay, don't quote me on that. That is not true, but it does feel like they're going full steam ahead. Knowing that, okay, that's so not true. Please do not quote us on that. Not true. But it feels like it's a lot happening. Woo Assassins. This is a new show. Now, already the title has me going, ooh, this sounds exciting. This is like a vein Netflix likes to go down, especially those sneaky little action shows that you kind of go, whoa, this is on Netflix right now? And yes, this is theirs. About 10 episodes. You got a chance to check out the first. Well, I don't know. Did you go forth in it? I don't know if you went all the way, but we'll find out. Yeah. If Woo Assassins is something that you could recommend, or maybe recommend to the very specific few.
Now, I did make it into episode 4.
Gotcha.
Out of 10. So that's where I am. And here's what's going on. The Woo Assassins, it's literal. These are special people in the world who have a certain kind of makeup that allows them to be able to assassinate the Woo. Now, the Woo are these 5 bad people that want to take over the world, and they have powers. So this is supernatural, this martial arts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and their powers come from different elements. So one is fire, one is metal, that kind of stuff.
Is this in English, just first of all?
It is in English. It is in English. You do have some Cantonese, I believe, because it didn't sound quite like Mandarin all the time to me. So I think, and they mention Cantonese. So, because it's Hong Kong based, gotcha, essentially. But we are in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So you're dealing with San Francisco's Chinatown. And you will get subtitles when you need them, obviously. But they do have a lot of English. And they do have non-Asian characters.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Mm.
So what we have at the center of this is the final Woo assassin.
Oh.
He has just been chosen. His name is Kai Jin. Mm. Now, Kai is a Chinese-Indonesian chef.
Okay.
So, what?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And at the opening of this show, we see him kicking butt.
And making a great omelet.
Then he goes to make some food. That's exactly right.
Oh, those are both perfect worlds for you. I think you're getting... I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
So, yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's interesting. And during this fight, he's saving one of his neighbors. His neighbor across the hall, he lives in an apartment in San Francisco. So, okay, why? How did we get there? We flash back. And he goes to one of his childhood friends. She owns her family restaurant, and she has an older brother who's actually a drug addict. So that's a whole thing going on. And her name is Jenny. And maybe there's something going on between Kai and Jenny, this kind of flirtatious thing. She wants him to come be her chef. Mm. Will he do that? He has a food truck, of course. How's that going? He also has another friend whose name, is Lu Xin Li. And he wants to help Kai as well. He wants to actually give Kai some money. Okay. But he owns what's called Lee's Wheels. It's this garage where, he gets all of these different kinds of cars for unsavory people.
Okay.
And the main unsavories are in a group called the Triad.
Oh, I feel like I've heard of that game before.
So the Triad is led by Uncle Six. And Uncle Six is actually Kai's adopted father.
What?
He also helped Jenny out when they were kids, when Jenny and Kai were kids. So what's going on? Because Kai is a good guy, and we know he's going to be the Woo assassin. Now, how does Uncle Six fit into this? Because we see from the very beginning that he will kill you. Okay.
Okay. Don't mess with Uncle.
Is he more than just the head of the Triad? Now, since there's all of these crimes going on, the cops are involved as well. And an undercover cop has just come to San Francisco to infiltrate the triad and bring it to an end. And this cop's name is Christine Gavin, or CG. And by the way, Ref, it's played by Catherine Winnick, whom you'll know from Vikings. Mm-hmm. So she comes in, it's like, okay, where did she come from? And so, I mean, you know,
she's gonna infiltrate the triad.
She's a white woman.
Okay, all right.
And her chief is a black man. I love that. It's just so, you know, the casting is kind of all over the place, but all of the rest of the characters I mentioned are Asian in background. All right. So what happens is Kai, it gets thrust upon him being a Wu assassin, and he has to learn how to train, of course, but he's trained in a different dimension, and he's trained by the previous Wu assassin, who is no joke. Her name is Ying Ying. So Ying Ying is like, look, you are going to have to go through these trials in order to become the full Wu assassin, because to be a Wu assassin, everybody, you're imbued with 1,000 assassin's powers. You can't make this up. So Kai will turn into the particular assassin needed for the particular job that needs to be done. And literally, he will look like that assassin. So in essence, when there's a fight with Uncle Six, for instance, with the Wu assassin, Uncle Six doesn't know he's fighting Kai because it doesn't look like Kai. Doesn't sound like Kai. But we know it's Kai. So when they show sometimes we see Kai, sometimes we see the real assassin. And the main assassin that we see in the opening is played by Mark Dacascos, who, if you don't know who that is, he was the host of Iron Chef for many years. So, I mean, that was funny to see him. But he's a martial artist. Okay, he's no joke. So here's what this comes down to. Is this ridiculous enough to be fun?
It sounds like it.
Right? And barring that, are the fights good enough for you to ignore how bad it is anyway? Look, they're not trying to be good. So I don't care about that. But I think it needs to go further in ridiculous territory, actually. I think they need a little more fighting going on.
There's not a lot of fighting? Oh,
it's not enough.
All right, maybe
you
later
get the
on.
fights.
Yeah,
you do get it. Plus, we now in the West have a lot of martial arts things to look at. You know, I just watched Ip Man. And so I'm comparing it to that and going, is it as ridiculous as Ip Man? No, and it needs to be. Because otherwise you need to go to like Crouching Tiger with that kind of beauty. And that's not this show. Also, we had Daredevil.
You know what? I was thinking Daredevil the entire time.
Yeah. And they do have a little bit of Daredevil where he's fighting in close quarters.
Yeah.
But it's just not as inventive. Now, the fighting is good. It's just comparatively, I think we need a little more from this because it's just not ridiculous enough for me to laugh at it all the time. So most of the time I was kind of like, okay, let's move on. But sometimes you do laugh. I mean, you do because it's stupid. So there we go with Wu Assassins. You will know whether this is your kind of show or not. I think I'm good with 3.5 episodes. I'll just say that.
Okay, but listeners, if you are into that, it might be worth a check out. What we do want to check out though is season 3. You know, on Netflix, that's a wobbly season. Glow, which is back, like I said, on Netflix. And I was just talking to the critic listeners, and I was like, you know what? I haven't started Glow. Should I? Do you think I'll like it? And he had really great things to say about it. Maybe this is something that you can pick up. We would obviously suggest you start with season 1, but it's all right there on Netflix.
Yeah. And, you know, it'll just be, now it's just 30 episodes, 10 per season. And each episode is a half an hour.
Ooh, see, now you're selling me even more.
Yeah, average half an hour. And that, it feels so good, Ref, to watch a good half-hour show.
Yeah, and this is a comedy? Or dramedy? Okay, yeah.
I'll get into that. So just keep that in mind. So it's really like 5 hours per season, my people.
That's, it sounds like more like my speed.
Yeah. So GLOW stands for Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Yes, this was a real thing. There was a real GLOW back in the 80s. So here we are, and we are in 1986 now in season 3. And what's happened is they started as a public access show. And then they got the can from that. But that led to an opportunity for them to have a residency in Vegas. So in season 3, we're now in Las Vegas, not in California. Oh. And they are at a casino, of course, where they have their residency. And this casino is managed by a character played by Geena Davis. Okay.
What?
Yes, Geena Davis.
The Geena Davis.
The Geena.
Okay.
Davis, playing Sandy Devereaux St. Clair. Okay, she was a former, showgirl. So
that makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
Makes perfect sense. So she's there. They have a 3-month residency. Do you think that's going to be pushed forward? Now, throughout this 3rd season, it is a season of changes. Everyone is moving to a different position. So at the start of season 3 to the end, things have changed. Starting, I'll just go in cast order with Alison Brie's character, Ruth Wilder, whose her GLOW character is Zoya the Destroyer. Okay, so she's the main baddie. She's from Russia. She talks in that, accent of, the ridiculous kind of,
yes.
And she's always putting down America. You Americans, that kind of thing. So at the opening of this, the Challenger, remember the from NASA, the Challenger, you know what happened with that?
Yeah.
Well, they're on a local show promoting their show, the GLOW show, and she's doing her Zoya thing.
Oh, gosh.
As it's happening now. Okay, so that's awkward. And then, so she feels bad for doing that. But then over the course of the season, we see she is an actress. That's what she's always wanted to be. Is GLOW enough for her? And is she ever going to achieve success? And the question is, if she doesn't, what will she do moving forward? Also, she has a boyfriend who has stayed in California. He's a cameraman. But there's something going on with her and the director of GLOW.
Oh.
Who's played by Mark Maron. What is that? I won't give it away, but it progresses. People say things, and some people shy away. Some people are confused by it. So that whole thing we see grow over the course of the season. Now, for Mark Maron's character, Sam, the director, he's not the director that's achieved a lot of success. He's not a guy who thinks he's the greatest director ever, but he wishes he was. And he has started writing again. He's written another screenplay, but is it good?
Oy.
Now, we see at the beginning of this show, not this season of the show, that he has a daughter he didn't know he had, who's a teenager. And in this season, she's written a screenplay as well.
Uh-oh.
Now, the question is, whose screenplay is better?
I can imagine.
And how is Sam going to react? I won't give that away, but it goes somewhere. Whoa. Okay. Now, Ruth's friend or frenemy, it depends on the season, is Debbie Egan, whose GLOW character is Liberty Bell. She's the, all-American down south kind of gal.
Oh, gosh.
Played by Betty Gilpin. And she has divorced her husband because, keep in mind, her husband was cheating on her with Ruth.
Oh dear.
And she has a not even a toddler. She still has a baby. I think he's 10 months at the moment. So she's away from the baby, in Las Vegas, so she's going, oh, I'm feeling guilty. I've got to be with my baby. But what happens if the show extends? Because Debbie is a producer, not just a star. Because Debbie is the only one who has legit credits as an actress. She was a soap opera star. So the thing for her is she wants to get out of acting and more into producing, but she's a female producer in 1986. So what does that look like, and where does that take her? Also, she's a bit lonely, So she, you know, developed certain friendships with some of the help. Let's say it that way. Okay. Now, moving forward, there is Cherry Bang, who's
Cherry Bang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now she's a stunt woman, so that's her name as a stunt woman. But her glow character's name is Black Magic.
Oh.
It used to be Junk Chain, but somebody else took over that character. And this is played by Seidel Noel. Now, for Cherry, she is married, and her husband is also a stuntman. But for the Glow show, he plays the referee. Okay, but is that his dream? He wants to start a family. Does Cherry? And can you start a family when you're working as a Glow person?
Come on, I don't think so.
So we see what happens with that. Then there is the one of the ladies who knows the most about wrestling, because her whole family is full of professional wrestlers, and her name is Carmen Wade, and her Glow character's name is Machu Picchu. Now, this is played by Brittany Young, and look, she has ideas galore, and she's gotten so good at it that her brother, who's on tour as a wrestler, wants to take her on tour with him, a female wrestler.
Yeah.
He's like, look, you're better than some of these guys I work with.
Wow.
Will she go or will she stay with Glow? We also have others. Okay, let me go to probably one main concept for this season. And one of them is a lot of the characters are realizing their sexuality, and it's 1986. So there are two of the Glow characters who are in love, but one of them's not quite clear whether she's a lesbian or not. So this is between Yolanda Rivas, played by Shakira Barrera. Her character's name in Glow is Junk Chain. And we also have the character's name. Okay, some of these characters' names are a mess. Is Beirut the Mad Bomber.
Oh, dear.
And the non-Glow character's name is Arthi Prem Kumar, played by Sunita Mani. So Arthi is the one who's unclear about whether she's a lesbian or not. And Yolanda's like, okay, well, look, you figure that out, and I'm going to be over here. And we see what happens according to that throughout the season. Also, we have the main producer of the show, who is Bash, is his name, and is played by Chris Lowell. He has an awakening because he marries one of the Glow women. Marries her. This was out of the blue in season 2. Okay. But is he clear on exactly who he is? And his mother is played by Elizabeth Perkins, I just gotta say.
Oh my.
Yeah, so she comes in a great episode that was directed by Alison Brie, actually, in this season. And she is looking at this woman that married her son, because these are rich people, millionaires. So she's like, are you a gold digger? What are you doing here? Okay. And the way they handled that was beautifully written, beautifully played out. Really enjoyed that. Also, just to pull in a few more things, one of the weirdest characters, the she-wolf, Sheila, played by Gail Rankin, really comes into her own, because she actually walks around in real life with a wolf wig and fur. What's that about?
Okay.
Well, she sheds that in more ways than one and starts to understand who she is as an actress. That was great to see. And we also see from last season, the welfare queen character. Tammy Dawson. That was handled. How could you be a welfare queen as a Black woman?
Oh, I was going to say, please don't let her be Black.
The way the show does it is very smart. They don't shy away from it, but they do allow the characters to have moments where they go, what in the world am I doing? What am I doing perpetuating these stereotypes? Because remember, we have Beirut the Man Bomber. We also have Fortune Cookie, a character who's the Asian character, and she has a moment played by Ellen Wong this season where she's like, I'm done with all of this. I'm literally in a fortune cookie. And I don't need you making fun of me, you know, because what I'll say is they have two major fights this season. And one of them is when they do something interesting with the characterization. I won't give that away. It was great. And at the end, they do a Christmas version. That was so good. They do a Christmas carol as Glow characters. It was so smart. But anyway, so back to the welfare queen, Tammy. she had a spiritual and emotional awakening in season 2 because her son looked at her and said, "You're better than this."
Okay.
And in season 3, she has a physical thing. I'll just say that. She is the oldest person here. So is she going to be able to last? And then at the end of the season, we see that there are big ideas that are going to come if we get season 4, especially set off by Debbie, Liberty Bell. Because as a producer, she is ruthless and she's ready to take this to the top along with Bash. She's going to drag him along. And she's met a new man in her life, whom she calls Tex, who's played by Toby Huss, a great actor. And he is a guy who has all of these connections when it comes to TV. So is her relationship with Tex more important than her ambition? You'll find out. And more happens. So that's a whole bunch.
Wow, that was a very thorough, yes.
Obviously, I saw all 10 episodes, obviously.
Apparently, yeah, this is great.
I will say the only knock I give it, Ref, is early on where it needed a little more humor, just a little more. This season, I would call a drama. I would call it a drama. So we've seen how that morphs. Now, does it work as a drama? It actually does, because you get the wrestling. I just think they need a little more humor early on. But when you get to the end of the season, some of these moments, Ref, I was actually pulled in by the acting and the writing. Now, is it always perfect? No. But some of the stuff, I just got to say, I've got to tip my hat to them. The acting is excellent. And some of the writing, the ideas was just really good. So while early on it's not quite perfect, it's still interesting. And by the end, it's thoroughly satisfying. This is what I call good.
Excellent. Let's move on to Cinemax. Some season finales. Uh-oh. Bye-bye, Jett. With the double T at the end.
Yeah, not like Jett magazine, right?
No, Joan Jett.
Yes. So, look, okay. We talked about Jett. And here's the thing. I'm going to start with this. It can go too far in violence and sex. Too far. Where you're just like, why am I even seeing that? Like, I don't need to see a character's hand get sawed off.
No.
Why?
24.
Like, why do I need that? And then it's not even a character I care that much about. Why am I seeing this? It's gratuitous. So that's my caution here. And I think when they get away from Jett, played by Carla Gugino, played beautifully by Carla, by the way. The further they get away from Jett, the more this show loses its way. The show is called Jett. Okay? That's the focus. And when it's on her as this great thief who really is just really good, really smart, plans everything out, doesn't like people coming in and ruining her plans, doesn't like to rush, it's interesting. And you have Carla. You also have the people attached to her. You have Charlie Baudelaire, who is supposed to be her boss of sorts. The guy she works with from time to time, played by Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
And he has this stupid son of his that we needed to get rid of. Thank you. Goodbye to him. So yeah,
I hope he didn't die.
They are chainsawing people's hands off.
Oh, geez.
People die. Okay. And at the end, who is alive? Who's left standing? It may not be who you think.
Oh boy.
So we have his character, and what happened is Jett is in between him and this guy that Charlie's son has a history with. Now, Jett went to this guy's place, went to seduce him so she could get into his safe and steal a ring that means something to Charlie. But while in the safe, they find some pictures of Charlie's son, some compromising ones. What's going on? And this man is not stupid. He knows that Jeff was there, and he says, "Excuse me, you now work for me."
Oh.
So she's caught between Charlie and this guy. How does that work? She has to try to hide things from both. And can she get out from under both of them? There's also this this detective that she has this relationship with from back in the day because she saved his life.
A cop, and she's a thief. Okay.
Now, how did that happen?
Right. Uh-oh.
And there's a whole thing that goes on with him and his partner. Oh boy. And there's a big old secret, oh my goodness, at the end that Jett just lets out to all of us and to him that changes the course of both of their lives, and that will bleed into season 2 if they get it. Because at the end of season 1, again, I said, who's left standing? Also, when it comes to Jett, who does she answer to? And I'll say this, she is out for revenge. She has a young daughter. Is her daughter safe? She also has, I don't even know who it is, like a companion in life that she lives with who helped raise the daughter while Jett was in prison. What situation is she in? There's also someone she met in prison who is a stripper prostitute.
Okay.
But she helps to get her out of that life, get her out from under her brother who was kind of pimping her almost.
Oh, gross. Woo. This is not
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Ugh. So we have all kinds of craziness going on. I can't even get into all of it. And again, I'll say, when it's focused on Jett, it is entertaining. Carla Gugino is just perfect in the role. Sebastian Gutierrez, who created this and wrote and directed every episode, wrote it for her. And you can tell. Giancarlo is great. I really do enjoy a lot of the cast. I just, again, have to say, if you're squeamish about anything like this stuff, sex and violence, do not watch it. But if you can wade through that and you enjoy watching kind of, just someone who's just great at stealing things and smart and silent and tough, and you do get a kind of Tarantino-esque take on things, kind of every now and then Jett is the show for you. I will continue to watch it. It's just that I wish that they would be more focused.
I probably will not be watching it, so go forth. Let's end the TV talk portion with a finale. Grownish has concluded its second season. They're already filming season 3. Now, these actors have to go to college, so, they're getting those things done. But we've concluded the sophomore year for dear old Zoe. Remember, this is Blackish's spinoff. And they've got another one coming up, Mixed-ish. That's coming out. But for now, Zoe's concluded.
Say that again. I like the way you gave us that D.
Mixed-ish.
Ooh.
And Zoe's off to a place. We won't give that away quite yet. And she leaves a lot of things hanging in the air. I enjoyed the season finale. I'll let you go.
I did too. I did not enjoy the 2 episodes before it, though. I will just have to say that. I think those are my least favorite episodes of Grownish. And why? It's because it didn't feel grown-ish. We've talked about this with Blackish, Ref, where the title is the key, Black-ish. And with grown-ish, we need the ish. Okay? But look, what happened is, Zoe, what are we going to do with Zoe? Zoe, we need an intervention. Zoe has had all kinds of problems this season, academic problems. Dad came in and said, thank you for my cards back. Thank you for my car back. Okay, yeah. Don't call your mama. She don't care.
Get a job.
Get a job. You're on your own. Good luck. You want to cheat in college? You're better than that. And you're acting a fool. You want to do your drugs. You want to go out drinking and have fun with your friends. You want to be boy crazy. Anyway.
Wow, it sounds like you. I got a glimpse of maybe what your daughter would get if you were to act like that. Were to have one.
Look, I'd be like, I'd be very calm. As a father, I'd be like, oh, you want to do that? Okay. I'd do exactly what Trey did. I'd be like, look, Dre did. I'd be like, look, give me my cards and my car, and good luck to you. I'll see you in the holidays. So that was great to see that play out. And her relationship with Luca. Where does that go? Because Luca, at the end of this season, we find out that his dream job is to work with Joey Badass. Okay. So what goes on with that? Because Zoe's like the cheerleader. She really wants him to get this position. And she essentially tries to force it to happen. And we know that, Luca's like, look now, that's not my speed.
He's back in the cut.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to go there. what comes of that? That has implications leading not only to the season ender here, but to next season, as the ref was saying. Where are these people? Physically, emotionally, as well in relationship-wise? Because remember, before Zoe was with Luca, she was with somebody else.
Ish. They made it a point this season to say it was ish because we have concluded the friends with benefits portion with one of Zoe's friends. We'll just say that.
Exactly. So we're talking about Aaron and one of Zoe's friends, and then what happened with that. Yeah. Now, Aaron, the problem is, who is he really in love with?
We all know.
And I'll say this for the Zoe Luca storyline, it felt elongated to me. I knew where y'all were going. Yeah. I knew it. So it just felt it just dragged a bit to me. I think they could have cleaned that up a little more, but I understand they wanted to have a certain moment happen in the season ender. I get that. So these are minor knocks. Now for the other friends, we have dealt with one of them dating a professor.
Oh, that's a big, huge no-no.
Know me. And dating a female professor, nice little, there we go with grown-ish. Okay. Now what happens at the end of the season because of that? We also
somebody gets a phone call. We'll just say that.
A phone call. Okay, I can't even say it. Phone, like, who's on the phone? Okay, now the twins.
Oh yeah.
What's going on with them? Remember, they're athletes. Something happens, and I won't even get into the relationship stuff. We talked about that. And so on and so forth. I think I'm done talking about all of this stuff. So we have even more going on. Overall, for me, Ref, it was a successful season, a 2-part season, by the way. That's hard to do, to go away and come back and still feel fresh and relevant. I think they did a good job of it overall. I'm still watching this. I will still see season 3. I wonder where they're going. I just hope as they move forward that they figure out a way to just tighten things up a bit. We don't need to elongate it all the time. And whenever they deal with something of import socially, remember your title. Because when you do, when it's grown-ish in regard to these things we're dealing with in real society, it's magic. But when they go too far into, we have to respect this topic, well, if you're all about the respect and not about the show, I say don't even tackle it if you can't figure that connection out. But what do you think, Ref?
I think overall, not to elongate any of it, but I think overall, we are definitely hitting a wonderful groove here. I want to actually highlight not just the plot, but the acting that happened in the season finale. Very much, I've not seen Yara or Luca, his real name is Luca as well, devoted to the depths that they went to. In the beginning, we won't give away, like the critic was saying, the episode before, there were strong implications that choices were being made as to one another's future. Someone advances, and does the other person advance? And what happens when you have those worlds collide? I rewound it. I think I watched like 2 or 3 times. It was an argument trying to get to the bottom of the real story here. And I was like, wow, the acting hasn't been better between the two of them. I was very much pleased and say congratulations. I think they finally hit that groove. And I have a knock. Grownish. I know they need to have characters come in from Blackish to help strengthen it. I think Junior is completely appropriate.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I would love more of him. I think he should join the show. I really, really think he belongs there.
Agreed.
However, anyone else, and I'm not going to just throw out names, I don't mind parents coming in. That makes sense. I don't mind.
What you're talking about.
It's just when it doesn't make any sense for the dean of that school to also have a full-time. How does that literally work? How does it literally work? And so every time I see, and I'm not going to say any names, other people from Blackish coming in, being a part of Grownish, I always question it. It doesn't make sense. I'm always thrown off by it because it's not as much. It's not like what it's based on.
Blackish.
No. Cosby Show and
A Different World.
A Different World. It's not like these people are a part of the plot and the grown-ups are a part of it. It's just literally for kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And so we saw that at the end of, we'll just say, one of the episodes where you're just like, and I'll give it away. It has to do with a jacket, we'll just say.
Yes.
It's sort of like, what are we doing? So that's my only thing with Grownish. I really think it's time for them to take it on it as their own. We don't need to have, that they've earned it.
Oh yeah.
So, awesome. I am going to now shift gears.
Oh.
This is the twofer. This is a long one.
Mm.
But I think we're not going to put out anything else. So listeners, we have a sneak peek for you.
Yeah.
We're sneaking around.
Blinded by the light.
Yes. Now, Blinded by the Light is something that you got to see way back at Sundance earlier this year. And it is directed by, I'm not going to be able to say this name correctly. Do you want to give it a shot?
Sure, it's Gorinda Chadha.
Chadha, okay.
Yeah.
Gorinda?
Bend it like Beckham, right?
What?
Bend it like Beckham.
Oh, did he do that?
She did. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Blinded by the Light is very, if it sounds familiar, it's because it's familiar. And we'll just say a certain rock star, Bruce Springsteen, has a lot to do with that. Now the cast, I don't personally know this cast. I think you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know the cast well. So I'm gonna let you. It's written by her as well,
mm-hmm.
and as well as some other folks who join in. Do you have that on there?
Yes.
Paul Mayetta Burgess, and again, I'm sorry, Sarfraz Manzoor.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize again. Haley Atwell is in it, but other than that, I don't know very many people. So I'm going to let the critic take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Haley, by the way, was Agent Carter, if you're going, who's Haley Atwell?
Yeah.
Okay, so Blinded by the Light is inspired by journalist Sarfraz Manzoor's life. So there you go. That's why he's one of the screenwriters. And it's set in Luton, England, which, by the way, is not the place to be. Now, how can I say that? Well, Javed Khan, or Jay for short, says so, and he's the narrator. Mm-hmm. Now, at the beginning of this film, it's 1980. And a 9-year-old Jay is writing in his diary while his friend Matt does other things. Then we shuttle forward to 1987. Jay and Matt are now 16 years old, and Jay still writes in his diary. Also, he's about to start
I feel like your other languages are bleeding.
I know. Oh, no. Jay's also about to start his A-levels at school, which means that he's preparing to go to university.
Yeah.
His father wants him to do something practical, but Jay has other ambitions. He wants to be, what do you think? Well, you guessed it, a writer.
A writer!
Yeah. Now, this is a problem because as a Pakistani Muslim, Jay and his family, which also includes his mom and 2 sisters, have to face violent racism combined with the terrible economic climate in the country and the world.
Yeah.
Despite that, though, Jay's focused on something he happens upon early in the film, the music of the boss.
Hey, who's the boss?
Oh, it's the music of Bruce Springsteen.
Oh my gosh.
Now, Jay discovered Springsteen via a fellow Pakistani classmate of his named Roops. And Jay just can't get enough of Springsteen's music. This is the first time that music is spoken to him in this way. However, his best friend Matt is not so pleased. After all, Jay's supposed to be writing songs for Matt's band, and anything like Springsteen won't do. Springsteen is for older folks, like Matt's father. Also, Matt's not pleased that Jay's prepping for university and focusing on writing poems and articles under the tutelage of Miss Clay, who's played by Haley Atwell.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now, Miss Clay thinks that Jay has a real talent for writing, so she opens the doors to a possible writing career for him.
Ooh.
But this leads to a clash not only with Matt, but also with Jay's father.
Ay.
And in the end, Jay decides that he needs to leave his father's house to pursue his passion. He also decides to pursue his fellow student, Eliza, who becomes his first girlfriend. And so in the end, the question is, what will Jay's future turn out to be, and with whose blessing? All right, so here's what I have to say.
Your story.
Yes, very familiar. And here's what I have to say about Blinded by the Light as a whole. It's a sweet movie that tackles some weighty issues. For example, the way that Jay and his family are treated in certain sections of this movie is atrocious. However, I'm not sure that this film has enough depth to handle that fully. It doesn't quite land the way it should. Also, I wish that it moved at a snappier pace. The actual acting beats were a hair too sluggish to build the proper amount of momentum and energy. And this was most notable when they transitioned into Springsteen's music. That music had a pulse, which the parts of this film without it didn't have. Now, keep in mind that this is a musical of sorts. Every now and then, Jay would start reciting Springsteen's lyrics to explain his thoughts and feelings. And then he and others would actually start singing the song over the real Springsteen track, including over Springsteen's voice. There was movement too. So with all of that going on, a more unified presentation would have been better. Despite all of that though, Blinded by the Light, as directed, yes, by Gorinda Chadha, remember, Bend It Like Beckham, should work for fans of the Boss's music and for people who can reminisce about the 80s, bad hair and all, you get that. Even with its flaws, it's easy to root for Jay, and you'll find yourself smiling at the joy he has when he gets to do what he loves.
Now listen, this kind of sounds like Yesterday, as far as celebrating music and getting people singing classic huge things. So I'm gonna take a huge leap, and I'm gonna say if you loved Yesterday, you went out to the movies and you saw it, Blinded by the Light may not be a bad companion to that. If you like Bruce Springsteen's music, maybe that's a good for you to get out.
Absolutely.
The question is, at home?
Yeah, it's going to work well at home. Just so you know. So like you're saying, Ref, you nailed it. It's if you are a big fan of Springsteen's, that Yesterday thing, you want to go out to a theater, tap your feet with other people who like Springsteen, cool. It's a sweet movie with some harsh undertones. But certainly you can get your popcorn, as you say, Ref, and whatever other kinds of wonderful things you like to eat at home. Lounge out, watch it, let it just wash over you, and enjoy the music.
Excellent. It's open this Friday. Yes, you can go to the movies to see it this Friday as of taping. And again, if you want to venture out on the 16th, we suggest you do it. But it also works at home too.
A Why Watch That sneak peek.
Well, the critic got a chance to see a sneak peek at the new movie that comes out August 23rd called Brittany Runs a Marathon. Now, this was shown at Sundance earlier this year. We didn't get a chance to see it, but the critic got a chance to see it not too long ago and has something to say about it. But before we get him revved up, we do want to say that this is directed and written by Paul Downs Calatio. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it also stars Julian Bell, Jennifer Dundas, Patch, that's a great name, just by the way, everybody. Patch, Dural, and Lil Rel. Lil Rel Howery is in this, along with some other people who poke in and out. Do tell us what this is about, because at Sundance, this won the audience award. I mean, it was up, and it was nominated for a grand prize as well at Sundance. So it's a crowd pleaser.
Yes. Maybe. So we start and we meet Brittany. Yes, the titular Brittany, played by Jillian Bell. And Brittany is the kind of gal who is all about the humor. She wants to make everybody laugh, regardless of the situation. So we see her, and we're in New York City. She is rushing out of bed because she doesn't get up with her alarm. She rushes out of bed to get to the subway to get to her job as an usher at a theater. And this is a Broadway theater. Okay.
That sounds like my life about 20 years ago.
So she's rushing. She's like, hold it. No one holds the subway for her. She's late yet again. Now, we see her at work as an usher and ref. She's the kind of usher who thinks she's on the stage. And so everybody's coming in and she gives them their programs and she's basically putting on a performance and nobody really is interested. Okay? So after everybody's seated, she's out with her boss and the boss is kind of like, Brittany, you're late again. Okay? All of that kind of stuff. And she keeps coming up with jokes. And it's so much so that even her boss has to laugh. She's that kind of person. We also see her with a couple of her friends who are the antithesis of her.
Oh.
Okay? I'll put it that way. They're at a club and she likes the club, folks. She likes to drink. She likes to partake in other substances. Okay? And she's still joking. One of her friends says, look, regardless of who else I meet in my life, you will always be the funniest person I've ever met.
Aww.
Now, one of the friends, the other one, is her roommate and is actually her best friend. And she's played by Alice Lee. Her name is Gretchen. So they're supposedly best friends and roommates, right? Now, Gretchen is the kind of person who goes on social media, wants followers, wants to have sponsorship, has the boyfriend in the posts, all of that. Oh, isn't it so great? That kind of person. Vapid. All right. So why are they friends? What's that about? Because the thing about Brittany is this, everybody. Maybe she's having health problems.
Oh.
Now, remember, she enjoys substances. So she goes to the doctor, played by Patch. And while there, she's like, I had this friend, she said, I've been having this trouble, focusing. This friend of mine, had this drug. What is it? Adderall, I think is the name. Maybe I need that. Now, the doc ain't no fool.
Right.
So he's like, well, you've left out a lot in your family medical history. You're not really giving me enough information, but I'll tell you based on what I've seen, here's the deal. Your BMI is too high, way too high. Look at the chart. Okay.
Whoops.
Also, he's like, look, and I know just because you're overweight doesn't mean you're unhealthy, but you're not one of those people. You have high blood pressure and other problems. So you are trying to play around, essentially. You're not being serious, but I'm going to tell you, you need to lose weight. You need to take control of your health.
Dang.
Now, how does Brittany receive that?
Not well.
Now, this doc does it with a smile.
Okay, because I was geared to say, we did it like you did it.
But the way I did it is the way Brittany receives it.
Aye.
Okay, that's not the way he delivers it. It's the way it's received. So how is she feeling? Not too good about that. So after this, there's also in the building where she lives with her best friend in the apartment building, there's another woman who seems to be above it all. She's a photographer. She has money. She just has a studio at their apartment. She doesn't live there. She has a husband and kids. Brittany knows this. And she's the woman who's like, come on, put out your trash correctly. Why don't you, please do that kind of stuff, And she goes for runs. She's that kind of person. So one day, Brittany decides, I won't tell you how, that she needs to start running. She's going to take control of this. And this woman, played by Michaela Watkins, her name is Catherine, she sees Brittany and she's like, hey, I have this runners group that you could join. We run every Sunday, something like that. Brittany's like, who are you to talk to me? You think you're all that, blah, 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 blah. So the woman's like, okay, sorry for trying to help, that kind of stuff. Now, does Brittany end up going to this group anyway?
Of course she does.
And she meets a friend there. a guy who is running because his young son essentially said to him, look, daddy, are you a daddy or are you a mommy? Because he's inathletic. I won't tell you exactly how that goes down. So the guy's like, I'm doing this for my son. And so he and Brittany are running way at the back, about to pass out. There are kids and a parent walking by them fast. They're running. So things come to a head. I won't tell you how. And the three of them, so Brittany, we have Catherine, and we have Seth, who's the guy who becomes her friend, who's running for his son. They decide to run in the New York City Marathon.
Oh boy.
A year ahead. So
Okay.
they have some time to plan. But it's not just that you need to be prepared physically. You also have to be prepared monetarily. You have to pay unless you get to the lottery. Like, this costs money. Brittany doesn't have any. Remember, she's working as an usher at a theater, and that's in trouble. So she eventually finds another job, and at this other job, she meets somebody else, a character named Jaren, who's played by Utkarsh Ambudkar. Now, this guy and Brittany, they don't get along. I won't tell you what this job is, but it leads to something more. And over the course of this year, we see the change in Brittany. How does this change affect her best friend? How does it affect Gretchen, the vapid one? Does she take it well? What's going on with their relationship? Also, as Brittany changes, how does it affect her? Because what's going on? You know, she had this facade of humor. What happens when that starts to crack? She also, by the way, has an older sister, and the older sister's husband is played by Lil Rel.
Yeah.
And he's like a father figure for Brittany, so there's something going on there. She has to go back home to Philadelphia for a reason. I won't tell you why, and that leads to some nasty stuff. So there's some things underneath the surface that running and losing weight and really having to confront yourself changes Brittany, and not always in the best of ways. So in the end, the question is, what are her relationships? Does she actually run the marathon? And exactly who is Brittany? Now, here's the review.
I was curious. You set that up like I want to see it now, but we'll see.
The first half of Brittany Runs a Marathon was really enjoyable. Can I tell you, I was even laughing at Brittany. And some of her stuff. Jillian Bell is really great comedically. Her timing is really good. Like, even some stupid jokes she lands. So it's just nice. In the beginning, they set her character up well. They set the premise up well. We are invested in her. You like her. You're rooting for her, even though you know she's got some problems, okay? So it has a nice lightheartedness and humor, but you also get blips of drama. So you can see maybe there's something else going on. And I think in the first half, they balanced that rather well. The second half is more dramatic. And it becomes problematic as a result in comparison. You lose the humor, and Brittany really isn't that likable in a lot of those ending moments. I mean, in one moment in particular, you might want to, as the ref would say, slap her. Okay? You might. So the thing is, what's interesting, what they're tuggling with here is, hey, just because you're losing weight doesn't mean that you have to be a nice person. Okay? It doesn't mean that you have to be. You don't owe people that. Because typically in a more Hollywood sort of movie, we would still see Brittany as, this kind of victimized person. People are dumping on her. She doesn't fight back. She's perfect. All of that kind of stuff. No. Brittany has problems. And the thing is, if you're going to do that, though, you've got to have the balance right. And I think it wallowed a bit in the drama toward the end. And I don't think the writing and even the execution was up to that task fully. Now, I will say, I think for a lot of moviegoers and people who watch this, the first half is really so much fun that you'll be okay just going to the end and seeing what the resolution is. It won't be as good as it was, but you'll be fine with that. overall, I was fine with it. Again, the first half was wonderful. Second half had some problems. I just wish they would have stuck that landing. They could have done it. But as is everybody, should you go see this in the movie theater? Hey, it's late August. The humidity is out. We've had the dog days of summer coming in. If you just want to go into an air-conditioned theater and really have an enjoyable half of a movie, like you'll sit there, and I didn't look at my watch, and this is always my tell, until about an hour in. That's pretty good. Okay? That means I was engaged. So if you want that, you can have it in a theater. It'll work well, though, in your PJs at home when it's available that way. You'll be able to enjoy it. It's no problem pausing it and coming back to it. So that's up to all of you to decide for yourselves.
Well, Brittany Runs a Marathon is out August 23rd. You can do as the ref says. You can either whip in out of the heat, or you can just stay in because you never left. You decide.
The Why Watch That TV Talk.
Ooh, summer is winding down. Better book that last minute trip to the Hamptons. Or wherever you may be. Listen, we've got a full, robust TV episode for you, a TV talk for you this week. Summer's winding down, but unfortunately TV is not. And the critic got a chance to check out some wonderful series premieres, some brand new shows for us to talk about, as well as some season premieres, some of those shows that are returning, some ones we loved, the other ones we're confused about. And then we're going to say ta-ta for now to a couple of shows. Are you ready, critic?
Yes. Je suis prêt.
Oh, prêt. Wait,
that's
or maybe
not me.
No, that's right. Don't say that. Let's start with a series premiere that is on HBO right now. You got to see the 2-episode premiere of it. It's in its first season. It's Our Boys, which you told me is the new Monday show slot. It has that slot. And it's an Israeli piece, or coming to us from that region, or in that vein, rather. I don't know much about it, so I'm really curious as to what you have to say.
Yeah, it is from Israel. You know, this is an Israeli show. We got it. So it's actually telling a true story, what happened earlier this century. So there were 3 Israeli teenage boys who went missing.
Oy.
Now we know the region. So why did they go missing? And they end up dead.
Oh dear.
So imagine the push and pull, because the center of this show is Jerusalem. That's where we are. And if you know Jerusalem, it houses lots of different religions. Okay. So the Arabs are blamed for what happened. But were they the ones who did it? Who knows? So the question is, will someone who's a Jewish retaliate against the Arabs? And how? So at the center of this is a family, an Arab family, and they have 2 sons. The younger son, he's teenage as well. He's around the same age as the boys who went missing and then wound up being found dead.
Aye. And
he wants to go to Turkey, I believe, on vacation. He's done all of this work in school to do so that his father will pay for him to go. But at the moment, he has to work. His father has a business. Both of his sons help him with that, but do they help him? Right? So what happens is this younger son, something happens to some of the equipment at the job and he's blamed for it. So then the father says, well, you ain't going to Turkey. And this is a problem. So then the son decides to get another job to try to pay for it himself, and so on and so forth. We also see what's going on with the cops in Jerusalem. What's that dynamic? What's the push and pull there? Of course, there's one detective who has certain ideas that no one else has about who's up to what, who actually did the kidnapping, and so on and so forth. but no one agrees. Also, you have this nationalistic spirit that has happened because of our boys being found dead, right? So by the end of the 2 episodes, we see that someone else goes missing.
Uh-oh.
And the question is, will this someone else be found in time? Is this a retaliation? Who did it? Is it the Jewish people who did it? Is it the Arabs who did it to themselves?
Oh boy.
What in the world is happening there? And how is this family, this Arab family, affected? Now, I'll say this. This is, I'll call it good. You do get the whole kind of handheld camera feel. They're, of course, going for authenticity. We got all of that. My only thing is, it took 2 episodes to get to where we need to get in 1. So if I'm going to keep watching this, they're going to need to advance the story a little more. Because as I was watching it, Ref, I was kind of going, okay, like I'm done with this part of the story. I'm done. I've got it. Moving on. Like, move on. And this is my main thing now with both movies and TV shows. Stop wasting I won't talk about anybody else's, my time.
Oh.
Okay?
Ouch.
Get to the point. Don't be redundant. I got it. This is a visual medium. I got it. Show it and get out of there. Because in this way, what you'll do is draw us in. And that's what I'm looking for. And this is a compelling story. I mean, obviously, but I wasn't compelled. Not so far.
Oh, geez. Those are tough words for our boys. Maybe we'll see if it changes a little bit if you dare go with it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's frustrating when you're watching something, you go, it could be this instead if they just move that story.
David Makes Man. Ooh, this is on OWN. OWN is coming in and trying to really hone down on the African-American experience, the story. And this one, surprisingly, is from an African-American young boy's point of view. This is not, Oprah's been on record saying that she had not really thought about telling that point of view and was absolutely intrigued when the creator, Terrell Alvin McCraney, who we know from his award-winning Moonlight, came to be in our world. But this was coming to us from also Michael B. Jordan and his company. And it's starring pretty much a lot of newcomers, but one is not. And that is the marvelous, amazing Felicia Rashad.
Yeah.
So Felicia Rashad is on OWN from the writer of Moonlight. What's going on here? Yeah.
And we're in the same place as Moonlight. We're in Miami because it's semi-autobiographical, I believe. So it's inspired by his life. And on OWN, they do, as you watch the first episode, at the beginning of each commercial break, you see a talk between Terrell and Oprah about that on the set. And I was like, oh, this is a set. Like, the set is great. It looks real. I'll give him that. It looks authentic. I thought I was actually in the Miami-Dade area. That's a little inside joke, everybody. So now for David Makes Man, this is certainly not trying to be authentic. Thank you. Because Terrell is an artist. So let's keep that in mind. Now, David is a 14-year-old kid. He's whip smart, but his family is encountering trouble. He has a younger brother who's wetting the bed.
Oh.
The poor kid. So David's the one who the brother goes to in the morning is like, sorry. And David has to, put his clothes in the wash and the bedding in the wash while he takes his brother to school, and he has to go to school too.
Oh, it sounds like he's doing some parental duties.
Why, right? Where's mom? Dad is out of the picture. Mom is in the bed asleep. What's going on there?
Oh.
Now, we see David at school. He's in an advanced class. The class is taught by Felicia Rashad.
Of course it is. I was like, if it ain't taught by her, I don't want to watch it.
I'll tell you this. If she were my teacher, I'd go back to school. I mean, when they give her the words in the classroom, that's a teacher. It took me back let's say on the flip side of the coin, Joe Clark and Lean on Me.
Oh my gosh, I can't even. No, you cannot drop that. Now she's crazy and she's not.
The flip side, you know.
Yes.
So
yes.
think the early parts of Lean on Me when he's talking about imbrue. Taint to stain. Okay, it is a blot, a shameful, greasy spot on the fabric of our national character. This woman could say that. She could.
Yes, she could. Yes,
okay. So, in this classroom, you know, David wants to do really well. Now, on his way to school, he has to take the bus, and on the bus, he encounters Sky, a grown man who's a drug dealer.
Wait, this is like really much feeling like Moonlight.
Right? So he's on this bus, and Sky actually wants David to excel. So he's that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why does he care about David? Why is he on this bus with David? What's going on? And throughout the episode, he pops up here and there and tries to counsel David. I mean, they are friends almost.
Mm-hmm.
But David fights against him. Why? What's this anger about? Also, by the way, David has dreams, vivid dreams, and we see them. And these were some of the best parts of the show, Ref, is when they're showing his dreams. And the question is throughout the show, is what you're seeing real or is it from David's mind?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be careful. Are you seeing the truth or not? Authenticity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's almost poetry in motion, which matches Terrell's writing. So
yes.
When this show does that, it's really, really interesting and good to watch. So anyway, so David's at school. We know who his teacher is. And he has his best friend who's also in the class. And I'll tell you his best friend is mixed. Now, I'm saying that for a reason.
This is very much like Moonlight.
So they're in the class. They have this project to do, this speech. And Sky told David, you better go first. But David's friend beats him to it. How does David react? Because his friend wants to talk about something from the African-American experience. I'll put it that way. So can David use that against his friend to make him angry? You'll see the results of that. And why is he jealous? And then as we move through this episode, we learn more about what's going on with Mom. There's something going on there. We learn more about the drug dealing contingent that's right outside of David's door. We see some of David's neighbors and so on and so forth. So by the end, David's circumstance has changed at school. I won't tell you how. And we do understand exactly what's going on between David and Sky by the end of episode 1. Now, I talked about when this show matches the poetry of the writing, visually, it's at its best. This is a visual medium.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not at its best is when it's too much talking.
Mm.
And if you think of Moonlight, Ref, and Terrell's writing, it's sparse.
Yes.
That's what we need. Sparse writing, show it. And then it's like, why is this even, how did OWN end up with this show? It's that kind of thing. So if you're thinking of the lineage of OWN, where we started with them with Queen Sugar, making an announcement, hey, we're trying to do more than what you're used to in TV. You get
green leaf even, yeah.
Get the green leaf after that. And now we're at David Makes Man. This is pushing it even further. And I think the question for them is, how much are they going to trust the visuals and just the impact of the storyline instead of the dialogue itself? And I will say, the whole Sky storyline, I'll just tell them, I knew what was going on from the beginning.
Yes.
So don't worry too much about twists and turns. This story by itself is compelling enough. I mean, David makes for a compelling figure. And when you have Terrell writing the character, just get the visuals. Put the money in the visuals.
Well, let's move on to Why Women Kill. Ooh, this is its first season on CBS All Access.
Talk about authentic.
Some very familiar cast members. I'll let you go into that. Very familiar. You know, it's funny because it was announced earlier this week as of taping, or last week, excuse me, that CBS has formally merged with Viacom. So it's Viacom CBS. They'll be closing the deal hopefully by the end of this year. And who knows what kind of IP we'll see on CBS All Access. But as of right now, they're really trying to pull it. They're getting the stars. They're also getting some of the stories. The question is, where does Why Women Kill fit in all of that?
Right. And piggybacking off of what you said, now the Star Trek universe is whole.
Absolutely.
Movies and TV, let's go. Now, Why Women Kill. There are 3 marriages that are at the heart of this TV show. And they exist in 3 different time periods, but these couples live in the same house. So the house is the constant from 1963 to 1984 to 2019. Now, is this house cursed? Because obviously it's about why women kill. And this is coming to us from Mark Cherry, Desperate Housewives. So you know where we're going.
Okay, now you just told me the whole,
So in 1963, Jennifer Goodwin plays Beth Ann Stanton. She's a housewife, of course. And this is a big house, by the way. In 1963, they say, this is our mansion. You know, it's that kind of thing. And it's in Pasadena. So, you know, she's fine being a housewife, all of that. But then when she meets the neighbors, they're Italian. Okay. So this is the 60s. But these Italian neighbors, don't worry about them because they know more about you than you think. Hello. Okay. Keep your prejudice to yourself because you might have to worry about your own marriage. Because the husband of this couple, because they are invited over to the Stanton's house for dinner. And the husband starts talking to Beth Ann's husband. And he goes, oh, you work in such and such place? Gets really quiet, looks at his wife. They end up leaving. Why?
Oh, okay.
Well, there's a secret about Beth Ann's husband that ain't too good and leads to Beth Ann going through her own little stalking routine, I'll call it. Trying to check out whether what she heard about her hubby is true or not. Is that the reason why she kills? In 1984, Lucy Liu is at the center here, playing Simone Grove. She is on her 3rd marriage. And she's this socialite. You know, we get the 80s clothes and hair and all of that.
Love it.
And, you know, dynasty all the way here.
Oh my gosh, brilliant.
And the thing is, her husband has a big old secret.
Oh, what is going on here?
It's not the same kind of secret, but it's shocking to Simone. It won't be shocking to you when you watch it.
Yeah, I think.
But it's shocking to her. And the way she finds out, there's an envelope that's left on the table during one of her parties with some compromising photos.
Oy vey.
And she's not the only one who sees these photos. Because she has some friends or frenemies, one of whom's son is working the party. Now, this son has a little crush on Simone. What happens there?
Oh, gosh.
And why does she kill? Now, in 2019, right now, we're dealing with Taylor Harding, played by Kirby Howell Baptiste. And she has a husband, same house again. But they have an open marriage.
Uh-oh.
And at the moment, she's the one who's cashing in on the openness.
Oh.
She has a girlfriend.
Uh-oh.
Who she invites into the house.
Oh, no, she didn't.
Now, this girlfriend and the husband, is something going to happen there?
Oh my gosh, too much.
I mean, they have rules, but do they follow them? And why does she kill? So the question is this, everybody. Why Women Kill is the title. It's not only why, but whom. it might not be who you think. So that's the question they leave us with at the end of episode 1. And here's what I have to say in my review. This isn't ridiculous enough. Shockingly. It felt sluggish. I was watching it going, I don't care. Like, come on, Mark Cherry. Like, go all the way. Come on, y'all. Be ridiculous. Now, Lucy Liu was definitely trying. But the writing was not that good. And the pacing was problematic. And this is where I go again. Do not waste my time. I already know what these husbands are doing when you're trying to hide it. I got it. I know the truth of it. Like, move forward. Have the throwing of the plates. Have people tearing the wigs off. Have people holding each other's hairs and fighting. Like, that's what we want. Go all the way. Or why do you have this show? So, I will give it one more episode. That's about it.
Okay, well, let's move on to some season premieres. These are shows that are tried and true, and you come back for number 2. You like that? Yeah, I just made that up. Succession on HBO is back. Brian Cox is taking names. Which kid is going to get the throne, or none of them?
Now, right now, as we're taping, the second episode is airing, so I haven't seen that, but I have seen episode 1. And we pick up essentially right where we left off at the end of season 1 in season 2. And we know at the end of season 1 that the oldest son had a little relapse.
Uh-oh.
He also was involved in a murder.
Wait a minute, this sounds like Empire, but not.
Yeah. But it was a mistaken death. So did they cover that up? Yes, because this is the Roy family. And they're very wealthy, all of that. So that's no problem. But the son, here's the thing, everybody. And the son's played by Jeremy Strong. His name is Kendall. He went off to a retreat to have his rehab after unsuccessfully trying to take over his father's company via an outside hostile bid. So the Roy family owns a media company.
Right.
And he was supposed to be the one who's taken over from his father, all of that. But at the end of season 1, it doesn't come to fruition. And so he's at, retreat. He's at rehab. Mm-hmm. He's only been there maybe 2 days, not more, not long, when father comes a knocking, not literally, he sends somebody to pick his son up, Kendall, and to bring him back to squash this hostile takeover.
Oh.
Now you need to go to the media, do an interview, and tell them what the deal is so that we don't have to deal with this hostile takeover anymore. Is that a success? Also, as they're dealing with this hostile takeover, who's going to take over, like you said, for the actual family? Who's going to be the head of their own company? Because Kendall has a brother, played by Kieran Culkin. His name is Roman. And a sister, played by Siobhan. Where am I looking here? Am I saying the wrong name? Yes. Okay. So, Sarah Snook. Yes, her name is Siobhan.
I gotcha.
So, that's the sister. Now, the sister's been in politics. And when it comes to Roman, he's been working in the family business. So, each of them is kind of like, well, it should be me. And there's also the oldest brother who's been off on his own ranch. And what's he doing here now with his prostitute girlfriend?
Wait a minute.
Yes. So all of them are going, who's going to take over for dad? Now, as far as Kendall goes, he's kind of like, why am I here? Like, I should be in rehab. Just to be present, I've got to take drugs again. I mean, I need to get out of here. And it's not going to be me, right? Now, everybody else is kind of going, maybe it should be me, but they don't want to say it out loud. So in the first episode, what happens is Logan, the father, Brian Cox, meets with each of them separately and tells them what he wants them to do. And maybe one of them he wants to take over and he lets it slip. But does he mean it? I mean, even in this meeting, this person, I won't give it away, is saying, wait, are you serious? Like, it says it like 3-4 times. So in the end, what we see is Logan is up to being Logan again. He is moving those chess pieces. He's trying to see 100 steps ahead, and we don't know what he's thinking. Nobody does. But I will say this, don't count Kendall out.
Ooh.
Now, I like Succession. I liked season 1. I found it entertaining. I think it's overhyped. That's what I would say. There is no depth here. And that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't have to be deep, but if you want to call it great, it's got to be a little deeper. Now, they have an excellent cast, so who really cares? I don't. It's just like, let's calm down on the hype. Now, outside of that, what I did found the most compelling in season 2, episode 1 was Kendall himself. The whole juxtaposition of him kind of being in a different world with these people. What's he thinking? He's kind of drugged out, but clear and calm. And that was a nice contrast to all of the craziness going on, which I didn't get to all of it.
Oh boy.
So I think if they continue that, that's an interesting little storyline to follow. Otherwise, I mean, it's just fun to watch. Why not?
I feel like it's such a great, if you're going to watch Billions, then Succession is right around the corner if you want to really get your fix.
Yeah, Succession is better.
Oh, okay. Well then, but a good companion nonetheless.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
The Terror is back, but this time, The Terror Infamy. Now remember, this is an anthology on AMC. Ridley Scott is still at the helm producing. And this is season 2, but it's a new cast and crew. So it's not going to be the terror that we saw in season 1. This is, again, an anthology. So we've got a new terror we're dealing with.
Yeah. And the terror, this time, Infamy, is set during World War II off the San Francisco coast. And it's focused on Japanese Americans.
Oi.
So you know where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the start of this season, at the center of it is Chester. And, you know, he's a first generation Japanese American. His parents, are immigrants living in the United States. So you always have that kind of tension when it's the first generation in a new country. What's that going to be like? How do they receive their parents' culture, their parents' ideals? All of that's there. But before we get to Chester, we see a woman, a Japanese woman. She's putting herself into traditional garb and makeup. She goes to walk across this kind of low bridge thing, and something takes her over. Something, we don't see it. She gets this look on her face. She pulls out what's holding her bun and her hair together and stabs herself.
Oh.
Okay. Now, it is the Terror Infamy. So what was that? Is this some supernatural thing? And then we see at her funeral, all of the people who've come over from Japan to the United States, they're talking about, well, maybe the spirits we ran away from have come with us. How could that be? Is that possible? What? Okay. So maybe we are dealing with spirits. Who knows? Now, how this woman is connected to Chester is she did something for him before she killed herself that is not good.
Mm.
So she essentially is almost like a medicine woman, if you think of it that way, without me giving it away. And he needed a certain concoction because in secret, he's met a girlfriend. He's gone off to college, and this girlfriend is not Japanese.
Oh.
They are not married.
Oh, okay, got it.
So what's happening there? And then he has a father who runs his own business, dealing with seafood. And of course, he has to deal with, prejudice in that job. He's selling fish to, in particular, this bad white dude. Now, this man is bad, and we see how that plays out. He wants to underpay, and then from there, he does some other things. Because there might be something going on with Chester's father that might put him into trouble when it comes to the government and actually being or remaining in the country. Okay. Now, what happens to this guy who's trying to blackmail Chester's father? You'll have to watch it to find out.
Oh, the spirits.
Also, by the end of episode 1, what happens? What do you think? because circumstances change for everybody, and they might have to go somewhere else that ain't too good. And that somewhere else, if you know your history, you know where that is. We'll see how that plays out throughout the rest of the season. So that's enough for me to set this up.
Yep.
What I'll say is, if you compare it to the original The Terror, the beginning is not as sharp. It's not as compelling. It looks good in that, kind of vintagey look that we had also in the first season. I enjoyed that. I think that the storyline is certainly interesting. However, I didn't have enough of a reason to be hooked to what they were doing, while I had the hook from the beginning of the original Terror. So that's my question moving in this episode 2. Will they hook me or not? It's good, but it needs to be better than good. Hello, it is 2019. There's so many shows out here. You've got to go the next step. I hope they do. I'm rooting for the show, but I'm not the one in charge.
Well, let's go to season 2 of David Fincher's and Charlize Theron, Mindhunter on Netflix. Now, this has gotten a lot of play, advertisement marketing wise. Mindhunter had a very successful first season. People really enjoyed it, especially when you get something from David Fincher where he can settle down and take his time to tell the story. Now we're back for season 2, and the question is season 2 really going to take us to places that season 1 did in a successful way?
Yeah, and season 1 in Mindhunter, what's happening, everybody? We're in the 70s. And in the FBI, this is the first time that they've had a criminal psychology, behavioral science kind of division. So this is like, poppycock. They're like, what is this? This is not, I knew you'd like that. They're like, the bread and butter FBI agents are like, this is some nonsense. No one knows what it needs. When this unit shows up places with law enforcement, they have to explain themselves. So we see how this develops in season 1. And what they do is they go to the most notorious serial killers, as we call them now. They didn't call them that then, but in the show, we see how it leads to that name. So they go to these serial killers and interview them, uncuffed.
Oy
The
vey.
cuffs off.
I don't think so.
So they're sitting to,
Now that's poppycock.
So they're sitting directly across from them, interviewing them, and they want to get to the science of it. So there are 3 main players in this unit. Jonathan Groff plays Holden, who is just like the whiz kid. He has the intuition. Does that get him into trouble? Because he will break the rules. There's Bill Tench, who really is kind of his superior. He has a lot more experience, obviously, in the FBI. And he's the one who's like, you can't do that. You can't say this. Don't overpromise. Don't say that we've gotten this done when we have no proof. So he is the FBI agent of agents who is in this unit. And then they brought in an outside expert, Wendy Carr, who is a psychologist, a professor. And she's played by Anna Torv. So Bill Tench is played by Hope McElhenney, by the way. Now, Anna Torv is from Fringe. One of my favorite shows.
Yeah, you love Fringe.
So she's there. She's a woman
It's
in the 70s in the FBI. But I tell you this, watch out.
Oh, gosh.
Now, at the end of season 1, Holden went to visit one of these serial killers alone.
Oh, dear.
And this led to a panic attack, which led to him being hospitalized. So in this new season, Bill finds out about this because Holden's not at work, and Bill decides to cover for him. But Bill is like, we got to keep an eye on you. He lets Wendy know. Wendy's like, yeah, I mean, she also talks to Holden about it. It's like, okay, we got to watch you because this can come up at any time. And if you're in an interview and this happens, this could be disaster. Now, the boss of this unit never was really into it. Okay. And at the beginning of season 2, he's decided to retire.
Uh-oh.
Why? Is it just, look, he's old, he's done, goodbye? Or is there something else going on? And his replacement comes in, and oh boy, this replacement's played by Michael Cerveris, who was also in Fringe.
Oh, Michael. We know him.
Yeah. If you've seen Fringe, he's the bald dude in Fringe.
Yes.
He plays their new boss, Ted Gunn, who really believes in the unit. He's fascinated by it. He's especially fascinated by Holden.
Oh.
He likes that he doesn't always follow the rules. He goes, look, we have this visionary. What I need is for Bill and Wendy to be his blinders. He makes a reference to a wild horse. It's a great race horse. He put blinders on him. So they need to be his blinders. Huh. Okay. And then we see how that plays out throughout the season. Is Holden to be trusted or not? I won't give that away. Also, there's some new killers on the prowl. One is the BTK killer. And we see what's going on with that. Is that resolved? I won't give it away. There's also, they get into the Atlanta child murders. Oh boy. Oh, if you don't know that, you can look it up. CNN did a whole documentary series on it. So devastating stuff. So now we're bringing race into the mix.
Yes.
And what happens is about halfway through the season, that storyline takes over. And that's when this season is its most successful. Because leading up to that, it felt a little too much like season one. I felt like I'd already gotten this information. I know what they do with these killers. I get the procedure, all of that. And I was waiting for more. So when they brought it into the Atlanta child murders, and you bring in, okay, you've got a bunch of white people dealing with some black people in Atlanta in the 70s. Who is kidnapping these kids? Who's killing them? Who is it? What do you think the black people think? KKK.
Mm-hmm.
What does Holden think? Holden goes, oh, wait a minute, I have my profile. I did my research. He went to Sandtown, Baltimore to do some research on whether black kids would get in a car with a white man. So he's like, based on that, I don't think this person's white. The only thing that makes sense is if it's a black person. Okay. Oh. Now, these murders have been going on for a long time, and the mothers of these kids, one in particular, is not holding any bars. Okay. She's going, y'all need to get your job done, and I will not go away until I know that you have done that. I need justice for my son and for all of these other women's sons as well. Oh, now, let me just go into my review. So, as I was saying, halfway through, I was like, I like this because the thing is, everybody, if you like criminal psychology, criminal profiling, psychology in general, behavioral science, anything like that, then I would say definitely check out the show. It's really good in the details that way, especially to see what was going on in 1977. Like, what was that like? Were they correct? How have things changed? Like, that stuff is interesting. Also, as you said, David Fincher is a producer here. He also directs some of the episodes. In season 2, he directed the first 3 episodes. Now, of course, he directed the first episode overall, so that set the palette. So you have that, his aesthetic, which is, antiseptic darkness.
Yes, yes.
That's what we got going on here. So if you're going to do that, you really have to draw us in. And I think first half, they did an okay job. But once they really got into the Atlanta child murders, I was drawn in a lot more. I found that very interesting, the way that was going on. It almost had kind of a True Detective feel without the...
flashing.
Yeah, without the flashing and the mystery. Mm-hmm. This is very clinical. So if that sounds like something you would enjoy, everybody, I mean, this is tough stuff. It's very dark. But I say, check this out. If you are a true crime junkie, check it out, because this will be right in that lane for you. And I just say, overall, they did a good job. The second half was very good.
All right, let's move on to saying goodbye to a couple shows for the series finales.
Yeah.
So we're saying goodbye.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Rook on Stars, one and done. It came, it stayed, and then it left. This is something that you got to finish. We're saying goodbye to it.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-ta.
Yeah, and okay. So we talked about this. This is the show, everybody, where you have these superhuman beings, but they are being used by certain governments to police, to be detectives. And in this show, we're in Great Britain, we're in London, and we have this secret group. There's MI5, there's MI6, and there's them. But the public doesn't know that they exist. And that's a whole thing going on throughout the season. Will they be outed or not? Now, these superhuman beings, yes, they call them SVAs. They are also, a hot commodity on the black market. People are kidnapping them and selling them to the highest bidder. So at the center of this, we have Miffany Thomas. She in the Sheikah, they call them this, that secret group in London, the Sheikah. She's the rook. So that's where the title comes from. So think of chess pieces. So that's where she is in the pecking order. There's a king, there's a queen, there are rooks, and so on and so forth. But she's awakened at the beginning of this series, and there's a bunch of dead bodies. She has no memory. Why? Why does she have no memory? And who can she trust? Maybe it's nobody. Who's after her? Not only from the black market, but also in the Sheikah. She's got to figure all of this out. Can she get her memory back? Who took her memory? Also, we have Olivia Munn's character. She's come over from the States. She is their counterpart in the States. She's come over for a particular reason, which is linked to the black market and to Miffany's murders.
Wait.
So by the end of this, what they're calling a miniseries, isn't that cute? Now they call it a miniseries. So at the end of this miniseries, the question is Miffany safe? The black market is involved. Also, the original king, played by Jolie Richardson, Linda, we start to see what she can do powerfully. And is she safe? Because the queen, the guy underneath her, has ambitions, and he can get into people's bodies and make them choke and pass out and do all kinds of stuff. He's also has a relationship with a politician who's married. Like, this is where all of this stuff is like, whoa, these people.
What?
So all of this is intertwined. Also, Miffany has this relationship with what they call the Gestalt. It's 4 siblings who share consciousness. So she had a pass with them, and if you with one, you with all 4. And if you think you're going to run away from one of them, there are 3 more who could be anywhere. Now, as I'm describing this, it sounds like fun, right, Ref? These powers.
Amazing. Gosh, good gracious.
The reason they have 1 season instead of multiple is, what have I been saying throughout this episode? I've been saying, get to the point. Excuse me, the Rook. Here we go again. You have these characters with powers, but you want to what are we on a budget plan? You don't want to show us the powers. You want to hide. Your writing is not that good to not use the powers. Use the powers. We should be seeing them all the time in big ways and in little ways. I understand you have budgets, but they can do little things, which you did occasionally, that keeps us interested. This writing is not that compelling. When they went into the powers, that's the show. You didn't go there enough. That's why you're over. But I did make it to the end.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of powers,
Oh boy. Whoa.
Legion is done, but it did not go quietly. This is on FX in its 3rd season. It's saying ta-ta. We have some, I don't even know what I tried to watch it and I was like, what is, it's psychedelic.
Yeah. And I will come back to that very point because I had a eureka moment.
Okay.
In this season. Now, Legion is Marvel's Legion. Yes, Professor X's son. What does Legion mean? He has all kinds of personalities in his head. Okay. We see Legion throughout the 3 seasons here as a baby, leading up to being an adult. And for over 30 years, he's had this being in his consciousness. And this being is an Omega level mutant. Now, this being tried to be in Charles Xavier's head, but Charles Xavier, Professor X, kicked him out. So the being went into the astral plane and discovered David, who's Legion. Got in his brain because he's a baby. Oh.
Where's Professor X? Good gracious.
Well, Professor X, we find out in season 3, we get where he was. He wasn't at home.
Oh.
He left his wife, David's mother, there alone with the baby. And he found David's mother, by the way, in the asylum.
Oh, no.
He was there, she was there. He went into her brain and brought her back to life. Now, look, there is a reason why she was not dealing with the things in her brain. A very strong reason.
She's a mutant?
No.
Oh.
But think Magneto. If you know that backstory, you know.
Oh.
Okay, so we get that here. And David finally figures out that Farouk, that's this being in his head, has been there, kicked him out. This happened before this season. But Farouk convinces David's friends that David is going to lead to the end of the world as we know it. It'll go away. So he, in season 3, gets all of David's friends to work against David to try to stop him. But in season 3, David is really coming into his powers. You can't just stop him. And he finds a mutant who can go back and forth in time. But there is always a cost to powers. We know this. So she's doing this, but can she do it ad infinitum? No. And why does David want a time traveler? He wants to change history, my friends. He thinks he's going to help by doing this. So along the way, there might be some collateral damage, but he goes, I'll make it up to you because I'm going to fix the timeline.
Oi.
So we have Farouk, we have David, we have Professor X, we have this time traveler, we have all of David's friends working against him leading up to the finale in season 3. And the question is, who succeeds? Does David succeed? Does Farouk and David's friends? Does nobody? Do both factions succeed? And what happens when you go back in time? When you encounter certain things in people? How does that work? And what's the cost? Because you can't just do what you want with time. There is a check and balance. And it's a nasty group of beings. I'll say it that way. And that might be the reason why the world will end. It's not because David wants to end it. It's his efforts to stop it ending that ends it. Now, I've had my ups and downs with this show.
Yes, you have.
The aesthetic, look, it comes from Noah Hawley, who also does the Fargo TV show. He also, coming up is that science fiction movie with Natalie Portman, that's coming out this year. That's his directorial debut. So he is a visionary. He's great at setting up worlds that you haven't seen before or that you have seen but in a different way and setting up atmosphere, all of that. But the thing is, we are telling a story here. And did we need 3 seasons to get to where we were in Legion? Because it's really not that much happening plot-wise. Legion has a being in his head. He needs to get rid of it. The being wants to retaliate. He's got to stop the being and save his friends and himself. Got it. He also has to deal with his past. Got it. Like, there's not much to say outside of that plot-wise. But what happened about halfway through this season, Ref, is it dawned on me there's a way to watch this show. And here's how. First, know that not a lot is actually happening that matters plot-wise. You do not have to understand every single thing thinking this might matter in regard to what's coming next.
Yeah.
No. If you don't understand it, let go of it, you'll be perfectly fine. Because what's happening is this. The main crux of Legion is it's a story, a depiction, a creative depiction, definitely, of mental illness. That's what they're really dealing with. So it's all about David's own reality, which doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I mean, obviously, he had Farouk in his head for 30 years. So when you're watching it and you start going, what's going on? This is where they're going. This is a way for us to show you what mental illness is like, what it's like on the inside, and how it might show or how it might affect the people on the outside. Also, They did this whole thing where one character relives childhood in this season. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. So is that important plot-wise? Not really, as long as you know she's reliving her childhood. So if you're going to watch this, everybody, and you haven't started, or if you haven't finished, just take it from me. Don't worry about going, oh, I've got to understand that. I've got to understand this because it's going to pay off in the end. No, they're depicting mental illness. The storyline that you understand is enough for it all to make sense in the end. I'll say overall, I would probably give this a B minus. I think in season 3, they did have some of their best work. Some of this stuff is absolutely disgusting and scary to see. I'll just put it out there. They will flash this being that every time my brother and I watch it, he screams out. It's hilarious. So it's like stuff like that. So if you watch it that way, if that interests you, I think you will get something out of it. In the end, was it worth it for me? I'd say it was worth it. I think Noah does have a good understanding of how to end a show.
Well, Lucy in the Sky is the name of the movie that he has coming out with Natalie Portman, and you will see Dan Stevens co-starring with her. So there you go. Now listen, we have just about wrapped up the summer. Just about. And there are some more TV shows that are gearing up, some TV shows that we'll check in with, and we're saying goodbye to some of the TV shows that we've covered since day one. But all in all, you can always depend on Why Watch That to give you something to watch.
The Why Watch That TV Talk.
Wipe that microphone off because it's wet.
Oh my. With my French?
Yes.
Le français?
Listeners, the critic counts down when we're about to start, and he does it in French backwards. And when he got to quatre,
Cat.
you could just pretty much wring that microphone dry. How are you, listeners? Oh my goodness.
Hey.
It's the end of the summer.
Wow.
And I know the kiddies are gone back to school, or they're gearing up to go back to school if they go after Labor Day. I say this. Why not binge something before everything in your household goes right back to normal? And for this week, we have what we call a potpourri. Remember Jeopardy, that final category where they just slopped everything together? I mean, it could be about anything. Well, that's the kind of week we have for you at Why Watch That. We've got a potpourri of television. I'm telling you, this week we've got a little bit of a series premiere. We've got a season premiere. We've got season finales and a series finales. We're saying goodbye to it. One of the strangest shows on television, yet somewhat satisfying. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, let's start with series premieres. We are gearing up for this new show on HBO called The Righteous Gemstones. There was an hour premiere followed by some half-hour episodes. It's all on HBO. You know, you got to wait week to week. You can't just binge it all. But it's its first season, and quite frankly, I think HBO is probably one of the best networks that gives you half hours.
Yeah.
I think they really capitalize it, whether it's a comedy, and sometimes they do drama half hours. And it's not easy to do that, especially when you have the sort of reign and the breadth and width that the leeway that you have on HBO. It's easy to take things to an hour, but
Yeah. Actually, that's really well said. Okay, now. It really is. I mean, you just nailed it for HBO in the half hours. Here's the thing for The Righteous. Let me start with this before I get into this. Okay. First of all, I want to say une crème brûlée.
Oh, there it is, that wet mic.
But seriously, I've been in a mood recently.
Okay.
Where I am tired of okay. I'm tired of people holding back, trying to recoup their money. I know what's going on behind the scenes.
So you've come over to my side now.
I'm over it. Do it or get out of the way. Now, with that said, The Righteous Gemstones, this comes to us from Danny McBride. If you know Danny McBride, he does have a now long-standing relationship with HBO. He created Eastbound and Down for them first, and then he did Vice Principals, and now we have Righteous Gemstones.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you know his work, you know what you're getting here. But this time, it's about a family of televangelists.
That's right. Oh my God.
Okay, so these are mega church preachers, a whole family. John Goodman is the father. Danny McBride is the oldest son. And then he has a younger brother and a younger sister. And everybody's a preacher except for the sister. She's the secretary.
Oh, jeez, there we are.
Now, what does she think about that?
She doesn't think very highly of that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And she was in Vice Principals, the actress. So it's nice to see her back being ridiculous. And what happens is they are encroaching on other preachers' space in the area. So these preachers come to them and like, well, you need to calm down, led by Dermot Mulroney's character. Okay.
Oh, Dermot. I always get them mixed up. You know, I don't know who you're talking about right now.
Dermot Mulroney, yes. Not Dylan McDermott, not, what was he in? The Practice, not him.
Oh, okay, gotcha. We're with you. Oh, yeah. Runaway, the Bride with what is that? Runaway? No, not Runaway Bride.
Was it Runaway?
My Best Friend's Wedding.
My Best Friend's Wedding, yes. Mm-hmm. Dermot Mulroney. Love Dermot. So he's here and a bunch of other preachers are going, you know, pretty much you don't need to come into our area. Now, does John Goodman listen?
Oh, absolutely not. It's John Goodman.
Exactly. Now, outside of that, Danny McBride's character, he's in a compromising position because somebody has some footage of him and his buddies doing some off-brand things.
Uh-oh.
I'll put it that way. And they want some money.
Oh, blackmail.
There you go. Now, what happens as a result of that, right? And what happens when he goes to his siblings? And of course, these siblings don't get along. You know, he and his brother, they're fighting for who's the better preacher. I mean, the show starts off there in China, baptizing thousands of people and fighting in the water.
Oh, my goodness.
The sister's like, all y'all underestimate me, and so on and so forth. So, you know, that's the setup here. For me, this is right in line with what Danny McBride typically does. I would say closer to how I felt about Vice Principals, where, you know, it'll pass the time. You kind of laugh at their non sequiturs, the ridiculous kind of improvising they do. But for me, and when it comes to comedies, I don't think I formally said this on Why Watch That, Ref, but you know what I think. Yes. And we have one accord. It's the premise that needs to be funny for me to really like it. I think the premise is good, but what they're doing with it early on isn't that interesting. So we'll see what happens after that.
All right. Well, let's move on to Hulu, which, by the way, side note, Hulu is coming for you, okay? Hulu is saying, you know what? Y'all making original content, we're going to make original content. Now, whether that content is, you know, knocking it out of the park every time, that's to be, you know, decided. But what we can say about Hulu is that they are constantly turning and churning original things. And just as a side note for our listeners, Disney now has not just the majority share, but there's only a sliver left. And I think NBC's still holding on, if I'm not mistaken. It's very, very little stake that other networks have in it. It is basically going to be another Disney platform. So we'll see the kind of original programming that Hulu continues to do. But for now, they have a new show out called This Way Up. And I hear it's from across the pond.
Yes.
And it's just 6 episodes, so there's no real strong commitment here. I don't know much about it. You do, so please share.
Yeah, and you know, the 6 episodes, it's like 23 minutes each per episode. It really, I mean, if you have no commercials with Hulu, it takes a little over 2 hours to get through the whole season.
Isn't that something? Are you seeing this trend more and more that shows are cutting back to the half hour?
I hope so. I mean, really, look, Ref, as you've always said, do not waste our time.
Come on now.
Get to the point. Excuse all of us. I'm over it. So
Ooh.
But This Way Up, it is created and starring Aisling B, who is an Irish actress and so on and so forth. And so she plays an Irish woman who's living in London, and she's had a nervous breakdown. At the beginning of the series, her sister, played by Sharon Horgan, comes to get her from rehab.
Oh.
Then we shuttle forward in time a bit, and we see her teaching this class, but she's teaching the Kardashians? What? What kind of class would teach the Kardashians, right?
People are playing the Kardashians, or is it the Kardashians?
It's literally they're watching their reality show.
Oh.
And so you don't know it until you start listening, and she starts talking about, all the different names, Chris and Kendall. You start hearing names, you go, they're talking about the Kardashians.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, what kind of class is this? Well, she's teaching people English. She's a language teacher.
Oh.
So she's using the Kardashians to do this. And the question is, can she find love again? Her ex-boyfriend is in the mix. Can she move forward from her nervous breakdown? What caused the nervous breakdown? Her older sister, Shona, played by Sharon Horgan again. What's their relationship? Because Shona is very concerned. She tracks the character's name who had this nervous breakdown is Anya. So she tracks Anya's movements on her phone. She always knows where she is. She has a boyfriend who's looking at her going, okay, you need to let go a bit. She meets a new friend, by the way, through the boyfriend, and I won't even give away what's going on with that by the end of the season. So, by the end of the season, there are a lot of question marks, and the way there is very fast, as we've said. So is this worth watching? Well, look, Sharon Horgan is an executive producer of this, and she co-created Catastrophe for Amazon Prime.
Okay, yes.
So if you've seen Catastrophe, this might work for you. It's not quite as good. I'll say that. It doesn't go quite as deep in the half hours as Catastrophe did, but it's brisk. I didn't mind it. I looked up and it was over. So there you go with This Way Up. Remember, it's coming to us from across the pond. If that's your kind of thing, check it out. There's no harm here in doing so.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you for that. Let's move on to On Becoming a God in Central America.
Central Florida.
I'm in Central Florida. Well, hold on. I had already moved on. But actually, that would be
That would be hilarious.
On Becoming a God in Central America?
Yeah.
I would watch that.
Well, we're close, right?
Florida! But anyway, it's on Showtime. The first 2 episodes are available, and it's absolutely free if you just kind of want to dive in. And some people like to dip their toe into the pool, whereas others like to dive in. It depends on the day, and so you get 2 episodes free if you want to check that out. There are 10 total, but again, this is on Showtime, so you gonna pay for it eventually. If you like it, you gonna pay for it. Yes. But again, the title is not Central America. It is On Becoming a God in Central Florida.
Wow.
I think I should pitch that to somebody. Central America. Come on.
I think so. I love it. Now, for this show, it stars Kirsten Dunst. Yes.
You enjoy her.
You know what? Kirsten has always been good.
Yes.
And I what I really am enjoying from Hollywood is they're giving her roles now that matter. Mm-hmm. So this is very rare for a child actor to turn into what Kirsten has. Very rare.
That's true. Very true.
So I my hat goes off to her, and I'm just happy that she's finding these roles on TV now. We probably have Fargo to thank, Noah Hawley, who created that show, because he hired her. And I think that showed people that, hey, she can actually do dramatic acting if needed. And so she works in dramedies. And that's what this is, or dark comedy. Now, what she's playing a wife of Alexander Skarsgård's.
Oh.
And he is involved in this scheme, I'm going to call it. This scheme.
He needs a good guy role, because I'm telling you, after that last one.
And it is a pyramid scheme.
Oh, dear.
But he thinks he's going to make all this money off of it. And, in a pyramid scheme, you have the people at the top, and then it goes down, down, down the pyramid. So he's kind of in the middle of the pyramid. He has people underneath him whom he wants to come and buy product from him. That's how he makes money. Hopefully he'll reach higher and higher levels up to the actual creator of this scheme. Now, they don't know it's a pyramid scheme, but we do because we're not stupid, okay? Now, the head of this scheme is played by Ted Levine. Now, if you go, who's Ted Levine? He's the bad guy that isn't Anthony Hopkins in that movie, Silence of the Lambs.
Put the lotion in the basket.
Yes.
Okay.
So exactly. Great actor, don't mess with him. So he's at the top. He has this wig and facial hair and all this other stuff going on. Now, Kirsten Dunst's character, Crystal, ain't in any of this, and she ain't afraid to speak her mind. And by the way, this is set in the early 90s.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
So, okay, Alexander Skarsgård is all into it. Kirsten Dunst is like, but you're my husband. And she works at this amusement park, this lower level amusement park in Central Florida. It's Orlando adjacent is what they call it. So she has a manager. She has a boss that's above this manager at the job. And the husband is like, look, we need to get them to take these products. That will help me make my millions. This is our ticket. Now, does it happen that way? Also, as you move through these first 2 episodes, something major happens. And what is the result of that is that Crystal, played by Kirsten Dunst, is left holding the bag. So what is she going to do with it? Mm-hmm. Is she going to take it lying down? You know that she's not. So that's why the title is On Becoming a God in Central Florida. Who's the one becoming a god? Is it Kirsten Dunst, as we believe, or is it something else that's going on? Okay. Now, why did they release 2 episodes for free, as you said, Ref? That was my question before I started watching it. You don't just give away 2 episodes for free. I am too smart now with what's going on. And I go, there's a fish here. Because if it was that good, you wouldn't have done it. Maybe 1 episode.
Yeah, but 2 out of 10, that's a lot. That's a lot. So the first episode's probably not that good. Because they want you to get into the second. Which I did. The first one, I was like, what is the perspective on this? Like, exactly why did you make this show? I'm not clear. I do see that Kirsten, Alexander, the rest of the cast, and it's really a really strong cast. They're working hard, but to what end? So then I went to the second episode, and, these episodes are about 40 minutes. This is not half an hour. So I went to the second episode, and I still had that question. So, oh no.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about this show. If you want to see what Kirsten's doing here, you can. I mean, she's wearing braces, Ref, and it's like all of this stuff going on. It's like, okay, why? Like, is this really a comedy? Because if so, it's not funny. If it's a dark comedy, it's not dark enough. Go there. You have the cast. Go there. And I'm out.
Ooh, ouch. Well, let's turn the tide a little bit. Let's go to something very familiar, and that is Ballers. Now, Ballers is back. Remember, this is on HBO. Remember, this is The Rock. I don't even know if he goes by that. I think it's just Dwayne Johnson now. Everybody knows who he is. Mm-hmm. This is its last season. We're in season 5. 5 years of this. It's its last season, and I don't know. There's a bittersweet part of this because we know just on the outside that The Rock's schedule is insane. Yeah. I mean, he's doing movies, he's doing TV shows, he's doing all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. But we also know that the characters in this show, they're growing up. And some of them are football players. And, 5 years seems about right to end, because that's the span of some of these guys' careers. But the real question is, for Mr. Johnson, we've seen him have it all. We've seen him lose it all. We've seen him change careers. And now the question is, where does he land in all of this?
Yeah, and maybe this was a 3-season show. Now,
Oh, don't. We need some happies. Any happies coming along?
Maybe we'll get there in the end. We'll find out. Now, so Dwayne Johnson, Mr. Johnson, is once again playing Spencer Strassmore, like you said, a retired NFL player who became a financial manager. And now in this final season, here's the setup. The NFL, after all kinds of craziness we went through the first 4 seasons, the NFL itself wants him to become the majority owner of the Kansas City Chiefs. Spencer. Now, Spencer has been an advocate for players the whole time. He's wanted to lift people up along with him. So he goes, I don't know, I've been fighting the man. I don't want to be the man. Now, me watching it, I go, this is stupid writing. Anybody in this position would jump at the chance to do that because you would be able to affect change from the inside. It's obvious. And excuse me, he would be the first black owner in the NFL. Like, this is whatever. And then they have a character come in to tell him that. Come on, y'all. Like, respect your characters. Anyway, in this season, he's no longer with his business partner, Joe. Joe is now working with that crazy comedian guy.
Okay.
Brand. Okay. And they're still doing their financial thing, and Joe is now confronted with buying all of this land to really branch out and do something big. Now, he's hesitant at first, but what happens when he finds out that Spencer might become an NFL owner? Then we get to the players, former player Charles, who is now a GM. He's now thinking about Ricky Jarrett, this prospect played by John David Washington, who is tested positive for taking PEDs.
Oh, no.
But he knew this was coming. So does he keep Ricky on the payroll? Ricky's his friend. Or does he let him go? Now, Ricky had a very good season for them, and he comes cheap. Okay. Then we also have Vernon, who's another football player. He wants to leave the business. He wants to become a professional video game player. Now, his good buddy is looking at him going, really? Really, dude? You want to give up being an NFL star to play video games? Are you serious? And so from there, we can see what's going to happen. The thing for me with Ballers is it's not fun anymore. Where is the fun? They've embraced this whole thing in the zeitgeist, the whole Colin Kaepernick kind of spirit, which is not good. We are not watching the show for reality. You can have that, but you have to have a dose of fun. That's what it had in its early seasons. It's lost that. Is this even a comedy anymore? I don't know.
Okay, well, there are more episodes to come. Maybe you'll get your wish. But let's also move on because we don't want to stay here too long. Let's go to some season finales. Yes, Sweetbitter. A bittersweet season. We're saying ta-ta for now. It's on Stars, and if you remember the critic and his strange affinity towards food that he doesn't eat anyway. You just throw potatoes at him. But no, it's that show. He'll go over some of the details, but it's in its second season. Stars is saying, did they say yes to season 3? I'm not sure.
We don't know.
But we do know it's a season finale for sure. Maybe a series finale. Who knows? Who knows?
Speaking of food, Ref, I just started reading and actually have almost finished a book called Sous Chef 24 Hours on the Line, which is written by a real chef, and he cobbled together real experiences he had and put it into 24 hours. So you get a feel for what it would be to be a sous chef in a relatively upscale New York City restaurant. So as I'm reading that, I'm watching this. And I've talked about this show. We have Tess, played by Ella Purnell. She is this new member of the wait staff in season 1, and now she's a back waiter in season 2, which means she delivers the food to people. Okay? She's not taking orders. And she's got a nose in everybody's business. There's this guy, Jake, whom she's just so smitten with, and she's really trying to get his attention throughout the first 2 seasons. By the end of this season, does something happen? Yes. What is that something? I won't give that away. Now, Jake has this complicated relationship with one of his colleagues at this restaurant, Simone. Jake is a bartender. Simone is basically the lead waiter at the restaurant.
Oh, okay, all right.
They're not that far apart in age, but Simone raised Jake after his mother died. And some other stuff happened that we found out at the end of this season between them.
What? That sounds complicated.
So is this some sort of triangle that's starting to form? That's the question. And then we have other people at the restaurant. We have Will, who loves Tess, but Tess loves Jake. So that's the whole thing. And Will is now becoming a manager, okay, under Paul Sparks' character, Howard. And Howard is very serious about running the restaurant in the right way, but maybe his personal life isn't so serious. That's the question. We also have, they dealt with being an illegal immigrant in this season and the different factions of immigration, how those different groups have infighting, let's say. We also have who would want to be on the wait staff of this kind of mid-level to upscale restaurant. Who would want to do that? Who would, what kind of people are these? What kind of brains do they have? One of the characters gave up law school to be here, but she's brilliant and she has money, so why is she there? Another one is rich, we find out. Why is she at the restaurant? And so on and so forth. Now, this is set in the early 2000s, I believe. And I've always said about this, I live in New York City, and it seems a bit pretentious. I'm not buying it when they do this stuff. All of these relationships, to me, I'm like too old for this. I see right through it, and it's ridiculous. Like, look, stop, don't throw yourself at people. If you make your intentions known, that's it. Then you say sayonara. I mean, whatever. So what I would love is if, and they won't, but what I would love is if they focused on the running of the restaurant and the food. That's when it's its best. They did have Sandra Bernhard come in as the owner of the restaurant. We didn't even know there was one.
Oh.
And she had this wonderful scene where she has this ripe tomato. And of course, Tess is there because she's always there. And so is Howard. And they're tasting this tomato. And I'm just like, this is the show. And right after it, she's like, okay, good night to Tess. Get out. That's the kind of thing. At the end of this season, Ref, there was a mouse in the restaurant. Howard's going nuts. He wants to find this mouse. How do you do that with guests in the room, right? That's the whole thing. Like, that's the show. That's what I can click into. The rest of it to me is just, it's passable.
Okay. Well, if you love food, maybe it's for you.
Food drama, yeah.
Let's move on. Speaking of drama, let's move on to the series finale of a show that who knew? It's called Pose. You've seen the posters. I mean, they are advertising the heck out of this show. It's on FX. We've concluded season 2. They've already renewed it for season 3. Even before we got anywhere near finished with season 2.
Yeah.
It's a hit for FX. And for very specific reasons, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once again, we started in season 1 in the 80s in New York City. We're now in the early 90s. Vogue has happened. And in this season, we start right before Vogue comes in. It makes a splash. The trans community in particular is very happy, but really just all of ball culture, because Madonna has now brought them into mainstream. Can they capitalize on this? So we see that the character played by MJ Rodriguez, Bianca, who is a mother of a house. Now, I've mentioned what this means if you haven't seen this show. So in ball culture and in the gay community, they have houses where, let's say this, you were kicked out of your home after coming out to your parents. Where do you go? Who's going to take you in? Well, you can find a house. So you might have a mother, you might have a father in the house, and they take care of you. You're their kids, et cetera, and so on. And you compete together at the balls where the voguing goes on and all other kinds of categories that they have. So we see that Bianca in her house, all of her kids are just doing great things. One of them has broken into the modeling world. This is a trans woman in 1991-ish. Okay. What's that like? Another is finally graduated from dance school and he's gone off to do great things. One of them, who was a drug dealer, she brought him in, is now managing the model in the house. So all of her kids are growing up, and by the end of the season, they've left the house. She has no more kids. What happens to Bianca as a result? Also, a big part of this show is how do you deal with HIV/AIDS at the time? What was going on? Because Bianca has HIV and others do as well. Billy Porter's character, Pray Tell, has it as well. So a lot of this season was about dealing with that even more than season 1, and what happens when you contract it, because certain characters find out that they have it in season 2 and they have to be cared for as well. So that was going on. Plus, Bianca herself has become a business owner. She has her own nail salon. Now, the owner of the building that she is renting out a space in, you're going to love this, ref, is played by Patti LuPone. So you know what you get from Patti LuPone.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Yes, she's like, it's the 90s. I am a woman you're going to take seriously. And I didn't know you were a trans woman. Uh-oh. So there at Loggerheads, we see what comes to fruition throughout the season with that. I won't even give that one away. Of course, all of them start singing at some point. We always get this scene. Because if you don't know, MJ Rodriguez was in Rent. We know Billy Porter is a Tony Award-winning Broadway star. We know Patti LuPone.
Patti LuPone is Broadway.
Yes. So you get all of that. But by the end, the real question is, where is Bianca mentally and health-wise, physically? And in the end, what happens? We also see a lot of other characters here. Things happen. I mean, we see the dangers of being not just in the gay community, but a trans person, especially in 91. And then I started thinking, Ref, how much has changed? Like, this show is at its best when it's not telling, when it's showing. When it's saying, this is what it's like show you. I wish they would stop the telling. Less of that, less preaching, unless it's Pray Tell. He can get away with it because Billy Porter's doing it. Outside of that, show it. When they show it, it's great. And when they have a sense of humor, there was a whole section in this season where one of the main characters, who was Bianca's mother before Bianca left, Electra, she, to make money, became a dominatrix. Okay. One of her clients took things too far, ended up dead.
Oh my gosh.
She left him, came back, gone. So how do you get rid of this body? You can't go to the cops. That whole thing was hilarious, with a character named Candy who helped her out. And they met this other character who gets rid of bodies. That I was laughing. But the thing is, as I was laughing, it stuck. This isn't that far-fetched. Look at what they have to do to survive. And then how can you cover this thing up? Like, see, that's when it has its moments. At the end in the finale, when Bianca has this big reveal, I won't give that away. It was great. It was great. They sent a character away, died in a tragic circumstance. And some of those moments were nice as well. So again, for me, this is a show that's the show. That's what they need, not the tell. So it's a mixed bag if you're going to watch it, but there's certainly nothing like it. It's certainly entertaining. I'll give it that. So you can forgive it for its writing flaws, its acting flaws sometimes, and even when it has focus problems.
Well, let's say goodbye. Let's say goodbye to a show that has confused us. It's perplexing. It's disturbing. It's hilarious. It's tragic.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things. And we may just walk away from this thing not knowing what we watched. But.
Yeah.
But we say salut.
Yes, exactly. Salut.
Salut to Baskets on FX. Now, we've been talking about this show for 4 years, literally for 4 years, we have been talking about baskets, and the cast alone is an award-winning cast, very unexpectedly, and the premise alone is enough to make your head spin. For this last time, Critic, tell us a little bit about baskets, if you can.
So the basket's name, it has multiple meanings, but it is the last name of this family. And the family includes Louis Anderson as the mother. We got to say that every time.
So we always have to do this. He's not a trans mother.
No.
It's Louis Anderson is the mother.
Yes, playing the mother. Gave birth to 2 sons, 2 twin sons, and adopted 2 other twin sons.
Oh.
Yes. So, but the other 2 twin sons, they're off traveling the world as DJs, and they just drop in and like, "Hey, mom, bye." Love that. So yeah, and Louis Anderson as Christine Baskets will go down as one of the greatest TV roles in history.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Whether you've seen it or not, the thought of how to do it where Louis goes, okay, yeah, I have my own mother. I love my mother. This is going to be based on her, but I'm not acting like a woman. I'm playing the character, Louis Anderson, the actor. It's brilliant. It is brilliant in its simplicity because you don't need to play the woman. They put him in a muumuu. They put a wig on him, press his hair out. And that's it. You get a little bit of rouge, not too much. And it's great. It's just, it works so well. And Christine in the season got married again.
Oh, I knew she was dating around, but I didn't know she got married.
Got married to a mattress king from Colorado. So that was nice to see. And when it comes to her twin sons, the 2 sons played by Zach Galifianakis.
He plays both sons.
Plays both.
Okay.
Chip and Dale, which you love. So Chip is the one who wants to be a clown. He's been trying to be a clown. Even in this season, he's kind of like, oh, maybe I should give up on the clowning. But he gets this opportunity to be a clown in a hospital cheering kids up. Does that go well? Okay, what happens with that? And he meets another clown who's like, look, you've got to come into this century. You got to be a superhero clown. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And Dale, his twin brother, Dale, first of all, they are in like Stockton, California, Bakersfield, California. And he has a Southern dialect. Like, what? It makes no sense, but it works. It makes no sense. He has a mullet. He has a Southern dialect. He is now living in a trailer park, and he's ruling the trailer park. He has a daughter, 2 daughters, by the way, who comes to visit him. The older daughter does. And that's a whole thing because he's ridiculous. And at this moment, the family owns a rodeo. So in season 4, Chip is managing the rodeo. Oh, okay. We didn't know he could do this. But the city or the state wants to run a high-speed rail line through them, I believe it is. So they're going to pay them to tear down this rodeo. Oh. Now, does the Baskets family want to do this? Maybe not. Maybe they're against it. What happens in the end? And throughout the season, Chip, through Martha, who I guess is his best friend, but he treats her like a doormat. So, and Martha never speaks above a whisper. So, I mean, they knocked the woman out and at the end of the season, and she, she's in the hospital like, oh, hey, Chip.
Oh, no.
So Martha introduces him to a life coach. And this life coach sees him and goes, ooh, I can make something out of you. But how much money does it cost? Right?
Oh, okay.
So in the end, where is everybody? What's going on with Christine and her marriage? Is she going to stay in Bakersfield? Is she going to Colorado? What's happening with that? What about Chip and Dale? What about their relationship? Is Chip still going to be a clown? What happens if the rodeo goes away? What will he have to do? Dale, who cares about him because he's ridiculous? He's just completely ridiculous. And what about poor old Martha? Will she ever get rid of the cast that's been on her arm since the opening of this show? So, Baskets. So Baskets hasn't been perfect. No, it doesn't even need to be. It is singular television. If you have a quirky sensibility when it comes to comedy, check this out. It does go to drama. It goes to full-on drama as you move through, but they still have this weird air about it. And the very ending images was of Chip being the clown that he always wanted to be.
Aww.
It was a cute way to go out. So I say thank you to them. I can't say it was perfect, but it was worth it.
Oh, that's good. We say thank you, Baskets, for 4 years of just you. Now, I told you this was a potpourri. We had from ballers to baskets.
Ooh.
That's what we should call this episode. Well, regardless, school has started or it's about to start. Why not, listen, why not just sit on your couch? Kids are off to bed. They're going to bed early now. Go ahead. Watch one of these shows. Maybe, just maybe, you can make it to Monday.
The Why Watch That Movie Talk.
We have a sneak peek for you. Yes, the critic and I got a chance to see earlier this year, way back in January at Sundance Film Festival. We got to see a new movie called Official Secrets. Ooh, what could that be about? Well, we're about to tell you. It is directed by Gavin Hood. Now, you're probably thinking, why do I know Gavin Hood? Yes, Gavin Hood is definitely someone you would know. Not only was he an actor, but he's also a director and writer. But this particular movie was written by Gregory and Sarah Bernstein. Along with Gavin Hood, along with, it's based on a book by Marcia and Thomas Mitchell. So, we got a lot of people contributing to the story. And actually, you need a lot of people contributing to this story because this is based on some very interesting facts that arise from across the pond about something that we know very much about over here in the States, or we have a certain perspective. But it's nice to see London and Great Britain to shine light on their perspective of this serious and major event. So give us the plot.
Well, in 2003, can you believe that that's 16 years ago?
No, I cannot. It doesn't make sense.
Oh, my goodness. Ooh, I'm getting old and you're getting young. Now
see, there you go. That's how you do it.
See, in 2003, the NSA in the United States requested that the GCHQ, which is the UK equivalent of the NSA,
yes,
help them spy on certain member nations of the UN.
Uh-oh.
In order to blackmail them into supporting the authorization of the Iraq War.
Now, see, that does not sound legal, now does it?
I was on tour during this time.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget, as you can...
Not tours in the military. Let's clarify.
No.
That you can make that leap. Yes.
No. And so, don't forget, everybody, this is true. This is a true story. Now, this request was forwarded via email.
Can you believe? When we saw that, I was like, who did that?
It's like, you're like, 2003. So forwarded via email to employees at the GCHQ, including to Catherine Gunn, who's played by Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
At her job, Catherine goes through communications procured via spycraft in order to alert the relevant governmental authorities if anything of interest comes her way. Also, Catherine is married to a Muslim man.
Okay, now, you might want to say that again.
Yeah, a Turkish Kurd named Yassar. So keep that in mind. Now, this request from the NSA doesn't sit well with Catherine, and she's not the only one.
No.
However, Catherine decides to do something about it.
Unthinkable.
She decides to leak the request, that memo, in a breach of the Official Secrets Act to a friend of hers who's a member of the anti-war movement.
Oy vey.
And this friend gives the memo to another friend who gives it to a reporter at The Observer named Martin Bright, played by Matt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's the staff at The Observer supposed to make of this? Is the memo authentic? Who's it from? What about the war effort? Should they be in a position to thwart it potentially after they've already supported it? And so on and so forth. Well, in the end, the memo gets out, and all you know what breaks loose.
Oh my gosh.
And the questions are these. What's going to happen to Catherine? What about her husband and his status in the UK? What about the British and American governments? What about her lawyers? And what about the people, all the people in the world, really? What about us? Oh, am I reviewing first or you, Ref? My goodness.
Well, I did not say who was in this. Because after that wonderful plot, the people playing this, Matthew Good's in it. We already said Keira Knightley. Ralph Fiennes. I never know how to say his name. Matt Smith. We got Reese Evans, is that his name? Evans. Jack Farthing. If you know who Jack Farthing is. Calgon, take us away. I mean, you got all kinds of brilliant actors in this.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Look, when it comes to films about whistleblowers and the like, there are plenty of them. And a lot of them are very good to great. I mean, you got All the President's Men, of course, but don't forget the China Syndrome. You haven't seen that in a while. Watch that movie, Jack Lemmon, Jane Fonda. You got The Insider, Spotlight, among others. And I have to say that Official Secrets belongs on that list. Now, while it might not be the greatest of those greats, it certainly is very, very good at the least. It's a matter-of-fact triumph of clean and clear storytelling on all levels. Yes, every single level. I don't care what nobody got to say. Gavin Hood, as the director and co-writer, as the ref said, really knows what he's doing here. And his skills as a trained lawyer are on full display.
There you go.
He and his co-writers have made sure that this story focuses solely on the important facts and narrative arcs, so your time won't be wasted. Thank you. Also, the story itself is an important one, obviously. So your investment in what's happening is worth it. And speaking of worth it, like the ref said, the cast. Once again, Keira Knightley proves that she knows how to act for real.
Yeah, not in just a period piece.
She doesn't ever miss a beat, not even a tiny one. Brava. In addition, the rest of the cast, you talked about Matt Smith. I mentioned him. Ray Fiennes, Reese Evans, Matthew Good, all of them. They form a great ensemble around Keira that's always in rhythm. Jack Farthing, yes, from Poldark, who maybe he's not in Poldark anymore, but anyway.
Wait, what? Don't.
Yes, he is. Anyway.
Okay, I was going to say.
Somebody else ain't in it. It's connected to him. So, great ensemble around Keira. They're always in rhythm. There's musicality. Yes, a musicality to every scene. Thank you, which is vital for this kind of film. It helps to keep you in a groove as you watch the events unfold, which makes it easier to follow the story. And so I have to say that Official Secrets is a wonderful example of smart filmmaking, if only more movies were like it.
Well, I have to officially agree with you.
Oh.
When we saw this at Sundance, we together separately, but together we decided this is one of our favorites of 2019 Sundance Film Festival. Really solid storytelling. And as you said, the acting is so underplayed. Now, when you do whistleblowing in that kind of movie, you can make it way more dramatic than what it is. But this story really is about a woman who's risking everything. Not about like all the building blocks around it. It's about her story, not about what was what she was doing was right or wrong. What, if the war, if we were supposed to get into it or not. It didn't die. It was very tempting to do that, but it didn't dive into, it just dealt with her story and her husband, who loves her to the nines. What is going to become of that? I love their relationship, but I have to like really shout out to your boy. I really, really always tend to enjoy Reese Ifans.
Yeah, and think Notting Hill, everybody.
Notting Hill,
Hugh Grant's roommate.
Well, he literally is sent across the world to Colorado, and the adventures they got that man going on trying to figure stuff out.
Look, and when he comes into a room, you better be ready.
Yes. I really did enjoy them. All in all, I think Official Secrets is a perfect deterrent from the summer heat. You will not be bored by it. It's intriguing. It's also interesting what happened here, but it's a great alternative to any of the big, huge blockbuster movies that are out there. If you're just itching to go to the movies, it will also work at home. So it's out this Friday, August 30th. Go to the movies. Take a look. See if you enjoy Official Secrets. If not, you're definitely going to enjoy it at home. And we're continuing on this movie talk with a movie that the critic and I got a chance to see earlier this year at Sundance. Both of these are Sundance movies, actually. This is called Don't Let Go. Now, when we saw it in Sundance, it was called Relive. And they have thus now changed the title. But the cast and the director is obviously still the same. It's directed by Jacob Eats. The story is by him, as well as a man named Drew Daywalt. It stars, I would say, a pretty familiar cast. We have David Oyelowo, who is leading the cast. You know David from many, many, many things. Most recently, the BBC's Les Mis, playing Javert. Ooh. That is very recent. And he played MLK in Selma. So just to give you a heads up with that. We also have the lovely Storm Reed. She is just, I really am looking forward to her career. She was the little girl in A Wrinkle in Time. She also can be seen in Euphoria as Zendaya's sister. That's on HBO right now. So her career is really taking off. And she's even in When They See Us. Yep. On Netflix, that's Ava DuVernay. She teamed up again with Ava DuVernay, and she's in that as well. I mean, she's doing she's surrounded by wonderful actors, great dramatic work. We have, I never know how to say his name correctly.
Oh, Michael T.
Michael T. Or I don't know if it's Michael, Michael T. Michael T. Williamson, who you would know, he most recently, like the big splash he made was in Fences, that was directed by Denzel Washington. He also, if you know anything about Forrest Gump, he's the Bubba.
Yes.
I just saw that last Tuesday. It's the 25th anniversary, Thursday, and enjoyed his performance, Bubba Gump, there. We also have appearances coming up from all over, people popping in and out. Your boy that you love.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. What's his name?
Brian Tyree Henry.
Brian Tyree Henry. He's in it, playing somebody you just want to slap him sometimes. But anyway, whatever. Let's get on to the premise of this. It is, it's not confusing. But if you're not paying attention in the movie, you might sort of get a little antsy because it travels in time, so to speak.
Yeah. So we have Uncle Jack, played by David Oyelowo, and his niece Ashley, played by Storm Reed, and they are very close.
Very close.
Look, after all, Ashley's parents aren't the reliable type.
Oh.
You see, Ashley's father, played by Brian Tyree Henry, who's Jack's brother, has a criminal past and mental health issues.
Yeah. Yeah, and drinking, and some drinking issues.
So whenever Ashley needs something, Uncle Jack is there to pick up the pieces. But one night, of course, everything changes. Okay?
Yep.
Don't let go. Uncle Jack, whose real name is Detective Jack Radcliffe, receives a distress call from Ashley, but he can't quite make it out. As a result, he goes to Ashley's house and finds her and her parents dead.
I mean, shut the heck up.
Now, the police, led by Jack's partner, Bobby, who's played by Michael T. Williamson, they rule the crime a murder-suicide. They conclude that Jack's brother, Garrett, killed Ashley and his wife and then himself. Now, this doesn't sit right with Jack. His brother's had problems in the past, yeah, but he's been better lately. It just doesn't add up. And then out of the blue, Jack receives a phone call.
Yes.
It's a call from Ashley.
Wait, how is that possible?
What is going on, right? That's what we're thinking. Jack is thinking it too. Is Jack being haunted by Ashley's ghost? Right? Is he hallucinating? Well, after Jack decides to converse with this version of Ashley, he discovers that she's communicating with him from the past. She's talking to him a few days before her death. And this means that Jack might be able to get to the bottom of her murder, and maybe he'll be able to change history. But just who can he and we trust? Can he trust his partner and his boss, who's played by Alfred Molina? Can he trust?
Yes, that's right. He's in it.
Yep. Can he trust Ashley? Can he trust himself? And can we trust him?
Ooh.
In the end, you'll know just who's on the up and up along with who's not, and you'll know what "don't let go" truly means.
Yes.
Now, I'll review it and then the ref will. So "Don't Let Go" is for people who like to talk back to the screen while watching a movie.
Which is kind of what I did. Which annoys the critics so much.
It's all about...
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. So you turn off your brain, you munch on your popcorn, you say things just like what the ref said. Don't you go in there. And so on. However, for me, every moment lingers too long, which gives the audience too much time to think about what's going on. And the more you think with this kind of movie, the worse it gets. The acting starts to look a bit desperate and the music seems abrupt. I mean, just get on with it. And so for me, I didn't really care about what I was seeing, so I wasn't invested. And I found multiple moments laughable. But hey now, if that's your kind of thing, why not see this? You'll just have to determine whether this is a movie that you want to see in a crowded theater or whether it will do just fine from the comfort of your home. For me, I can do without it.
I am going to give another perspective. At Sundance, I really, and you can go to like our social media and see this. I enjoyed it. The performances, Storm Reid, I can't say enough good things about her. She's got a natural ability to be likable and trustable. You trust her, but again, in this movie, you really have to pay attention. We'll just say, but you trust her. She's got a great innocence on the screen, and she delivers a lot of lines where she's just kind of talking, and it felt so believable with this relationship. And then she has to realize something, and that is, and we're not ruining it, that is, she's dead in Jack's world. And when she comes to that realization, great acting work from Storm. David Oyelowo is, of course, David Oyelowo. He's going to deliver. I do agree with you. I don't think it was the acting. I think there were some scenes where it was difficult because he wasn't given anything to do. And so if you're that kind of actor, you're going to make something happen. And so there were some hiccups here and there. I overall think that this is a wonderful movie to see at the end of the school year. It's the end of the summer kind of movie. It's not disappointing. I didn't find it, I didn't walk out of the theater like, wow, I was really disappointed in that. Is it great? Perfect? No, but it is fun to talk back and to listen to others go, oh my gosh, because there are moments in the movie that you're ahead, and like the critic said, if you do think too hard, especially when you get into the logistics of things, you start to find holes. But I say do it, go for it, let it wash over you. It's not a superhero movie. It's not dramatic. It's not a brash comedy. So why not do this alternative in the theater if you want to invest in, the $15? I'm going to say invest because it's not a perfect movie, but it also will work at home. I enjoyed this movie, and I think many others will too.
Yeah, and it's not the acting. The actors go there. They earn whatever check they got and another one. It's the writing, like you were saying there, where they really weren't supported enough, in my opinion. And that was a shame. But again, like the ref said, a lot of people are going to have fun with this one. So when is this opening?
Oh, I thought we were... I don't know when it's opening. It's opening when it's at your theater.
Yeah, August 30th. It should be there. Thanks for listening. For additional resources, visit whywatchthat.com.
Good idea, and we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and leave comments, feedback, and you can rate us on iTunes.
We'll see you next week.
See you.